Chapter 1468. One incense stick's worth of time was about to burn out. Fei Yu's voice resounded from the empty void of space where Void City was located. I agree to the marriage, but I have a condition. Hong Yiju was overjoyed and hurriedly asked. Daughter, quickly tell me what the condition is. Fei Yu's voice resounded again. I demand a formal wedding ceremony. Nothing could be sloppy about it all. She was the true master of Void City. Not only was she powerful, but she also had the power of fate, so there was nothing wrong with being particular about the ceremony. In fact, it was necessary to be particular about the wedding ceremony, because the infinite worlds within the void would be paying close attention to this wedding. If something went wrong during the wedding ceremony between Fei Yu and the Wraith Lord in front of everyone, it would immediately become a huge joke, dealing a blow to both sides' reputation. Before Hong Yiju could say anything, the old voice resounded again from the void of space. City Lord Fei Yu, please do not worry. We will definitely arrange the wedding ceremony according to the highest standards. Countless worlds will come to observe the ceremony. Everything will be carried out in the grandest manner possible. I have one final condition. Fei Yu's voice resounded again. Please speak, the old man said. Fei Yu continued. The people around me will all be part of my entourage. Entering the Wraith realm together, the other side fell silent. Fei Yu coldly laughed. As the City Lord of Void City, it would be shameful for me to enter the Wraith realm alone without a single person by my side. If you don't agree, then use the apocalypse to kill us all. After saying that, she didn't say anything else. Everyone looked worriedly at Fei Yu. The blind nun replied, It's fine. The Wraiths have been coveting Fei Yu for so many years. They wouldn't give up just because of such a small matter. They will surely agree to this matter with conditions. A few moments later, the old voice resounded again. I can agree to your conditions, but I hope that you will keep in mind that you are here to complete the wedding ceremony. Do not do anything unnecessary, otherwise your outcome will be 10,000 times worse than death, Fei Yu replied. No problem. After saying that, she made a gesture. The blind nun urged, Quick, follow our previous plan and help Fei Yu complete her disguise immediately. The powerful beings all stepped forward and unleashed their spells on Fei Yu, slowly transforming her into another person. Crow stood in front of Fei Yu, watching as she turned into a maid of the City Lord's manor, while he himself turned into a woman from the inside out. She looked exactly like Fei Yu. The formation outside Void City gradually disappeared, and the voices of countless evil spirits resounded like a tsunami. Welcome, Castellan Fei Yu. The maid silently walked forward, lightly held Crow's hand, then sent her voice through telepathy. It's about to begin, Crow. Make sure to pay attention to your image and also protect me. I've expended too much power just now, so I'm temporarily weakened. Crow puffed out his chest and chuckled. Don't worry. Leave the rest to me. The maid glanced at him, her face full of exhaustion and helplessness. Let's rewind time a bit. When Gu Shan was about to warp away, Fei Yu solemnly pulled out a few black threads and tied them around Gu Shan's arm. Gu Shan, don't say anything and listen to me very carefully. Fei Yu's voice resounded in Gu Shan's thought. See, the Wraiths have already prepared themselves for this. Even if all of us were to go in the name of marriage, we would still be closely monitored. It would be very difficult for us to do anything, but you've grasped the secret of life talismans and are able to stay out of the Wraith's line of sight. You are our only hope. I will lend you my most important power. It will definitely be of help to you if possible. Don't come to save us. Just do as you told me before and eliminate the entire Wraith realm. After saying so, the black threads entered Gu Shan's arm and disappeared. Gu Shan immediately sensed it, glanced at the lines of text in the void of space, and spoke in a low voice. Thank you for your trust. I will definitely do it. Fei Yu stared closely at Gu Shan, then loudly declared, I will bind my fate threads onto him. This way, we can both call each other. Everyone else's expressions remained unchanged. Everyone thought that this was really, as Fei Yu said, a technique used to communicate with each other, so they naturally didn't pay too much attention to it. Gu Shan disappeared without a trace. Only the eye on top of the blind nun's head was staring straight at Fei Yu. The nun's body trembled, then hurriedly sent her voice. You actually gave him that fate ability? Wouldn't that mean your life is tied to him? Fei Yu remained expressionless and casually replied. He has a grudge against the wraiths. He's not a person who would surrender. The blind nun questioned further. How do you know it won't be wrong? Fei Yu replied. Because I've secretly seen a bit of his past. He is the master of both heaven and earth, as well as, in short, giving it to him won't be wrong. Thinking of something, her eyes appeared reminiscent. In Buttercup's small red brick house, the two of them officially met for the first time. She silently activated the power of fate, wanting to see through the other party's background. However, just like when she received the astrology title, she couldn't see through a lot of things. She only saw a series of apocalypses, as well as Gu Shan's actions, as well as the final scene. Gu Shan stood on top of a mountain, wielding a scepter in his hand. In front of him, countless dead people filled the entire world, all shouting at him. Long live the Devil King! Long live the Devil King! Long live the Devil King! Fei Yu's eyes flickered, unconsciously clenching her fists, muttering in a low voice. If he had my power, he would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. Perhaps he really could. The blind nun wanted to say something else, but sighed instead. He's the only one who has escaped the wraith control, so we can only take a gamble. Speaking of the wraiths, Fei Yu coldly chuckled and sent her voice. Right now, even if the wraiths see through Crow's disguise, or kill me, they won't be able to obtain that power from me. Gu Shan was traveling through the endless darkness of the void. He could clearly sense that he would soon arrive at the wraith realm. But right now, his mind wasn't focused on that. He was still staring at the glowing text in the void of space, unable to contain the shock in his mind. You've been bestowed a fate ability. A fate ability is an innate ability that can be used without spending any power, just like your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and will. When you meet the original owner of this fate ability, you can choose to return this fate ability to her, or keep it for yourself. You've obtained the fate ability. Longing, you're able to see the connection between all things or living beings, understand this connection, and even perform certain actions on this connection. Special attention. This is an extremely unique and rare fate ability, as deep as the ocean and as powerful as a god. You must slowly comprehend it in order to realize its true value. Reading through these descriptions, Gu Shan was still a bit surprised. For the war god UI to explain it in such a vague manner. It seems this fate ability must be slowly comprehended in order to gain any benefits. With a single thought, he activated this fate ability. Right away, he noticed that two black threads had appeared on his left hand. These two threads flew in different directions and disappeared into the depths of the void. These are the fate threads of Fei Yu. Gu Shan muttered. He put his finger on one of the black threads. This was the thread that was heading in the same direction as the teleportation. A sense of danger could be sensed from the thread. Gu Shan immediately understood. This was the situation that he would face after returning as a wraith. The other thread was heading even deeper into the darkness of the void. Gu Shan put his hand on this thread. A sense of realization appeared in his mind. There's something that I'm looking for in this direction, he silently muttered in his mind. Suddenly, a total of 5 life talismans appeared from the void of space, circling around Gu Shan. There were numerous figures everywhere, as if a lot of people were moving back and forth, busy and conversing with each other. A voice resounded in Gu Shan's ears. All destroyed. Only you managed to return alive. How shameful. Once his teleportation is complete, take him to the 5th passage to receive his punishment, the others replied. Understood. Gu Shan silently listened, staring at the 5 talismans as his thoughts flickered. The scenery around him slowly became clear. This was a large-scale teleportation square, with numerous teleportation formations of various sizes, wraith and wraiths quickly moving back and forth. At this point, Gu Shan suddenly reached his hand out and drew a rune in the air. Haste! He uttered a low shout. The rune was completed. Instantly, the 5 talismans didn't complete the teleportation. Instead, they gave off a light that enveloped Gu Shan and took him away from the teleportation square. A few panicked voices flashed past his ears and quickly disappeared. Gu Shan followed the thread of fate in his hand and headed deeper into the void of space. Chapter 1469. Flying. The giant warp square had already disappeared. Gu Shan continued to fly forward in the dark void of space. The densely packed runes covered the surroundings, forming an arched tunnel that emitted an irresistible, vast, and mighty force. As Gu Shan carefully observed these life talismans, he was silently shocked. Even with his inner sight, he couldn't fully determine how thick this tunnel was. Who knows how many life talismans the Wraiths had placed here to completely cover the entire Wraith realm. The 5 life talismans that were circling around him were constantly interacting and resonating with the tunnel, releasing their power to bring Gu Shan forward. Gu Shan silently felt surprised. So many life talismans, even the slightest touch would awaken the power of all the life talismans, erasing anyone and everyone on the spot. But the tunnel would also resonate with the warp talismans to create a warp-type spatial power. There were no living beings around him. If it weren't for this tunnel, Gu Shan would have felt like he was alone in the deep ocean, heading towards an unknown abyss. There was no direction, no destination, no point of reference. At a certain point, the 5 life talismans that were circling around him were extinguished. These talismans were supposed to take him to the land of punishment, but Gu Shan had activated them ahead of time to change their direction and bring him here. Without the power of the talismans, Gu Shan's speed gradually slowed down and stopped. This place was still in the middle of a tunnel, in the middle of nowhere. Gu Shan hovered for a while, then slowly sensed the fluctuations of life talismans from the direction he came from. Through his spirit sense, a sense of urgency descended on Gu Shan, as if someone was chasing after him. I definitely can't keep waiting like this. Gu Shan silently thought for a bit, then went through the structure of the few teleportation talismans in his mind several times. He suddenly reached his hand out and quickly drew a teleportation talisman in the void of space. The talisman flashed and turned into a flash of flame. Success! The soul points displayed on the War God UI was deducted by 300. 300 soul points for a talisman wasn't much to Gu Shan. At this time, the runic fluctuations behind him were getting stronger and stronger. Without hesitation, Gu Shan drew a few more teleportation talismans. When the 5th teleportation life talisman was completed, they automatically turned into spiraling flames that surrounded Gu Shan. Gu Shan's body moved, once again gaining the power of teleportation. He sped through the tunnel. Just like that, Gu Shan used the power of the teleportation talisman to fly towards the depths of the tunnel. Every time a life talisman was used up, he would immediately create a new one to replace it. After an unknown period of time, the life talisman fluctuations behind him disappeared. The sense of urgency in Gu Shan's heart also dissipated. Strange, why didn't he chase after me? This place is the Wraith realm, so it should be completely under the control of the Wraiths. So why did they give up on pursuing us? Gu Shan was puzzled. Right at this moment, he saw a strange scene. The tunnel ended in front of him. A towering mountain appeared next to Gu Shan, with a giant head on top of it. The head had its eyes closed, its nostrils slightly opened as it breathed out white mist. As Gu Shan was about to take a closer look, he was pushed forward by the power of the teleportation talisman and quickly passed through. Ahead of him was another deep tunnel. However, most of the runes that formed this tunnel had already decayed, no longer giving off any of the light that the talismans originally had. From the looks of it, this ruined tunnel was in a half-abandoned state. Gu Shan was a bit hesitant. Should I continue forward or not? He looked down at the long black thread in his hand, only to see that one end of the thread was connected to his arm, while the other end went deep into the abandoned tunnel, its end nowhere to be seen. A strange feeling arose in Gu Shan's mind. Not far, the thing I'm looking for is right ahead, Gu Qing-shan muttered, then gritted his teeth and continued to fly deeper into the tunnel. From this point on, the rune tunnel wasn't the same as before. There would often be strange illusions. An abandoned train station suddenly appeared in his vision. Rusted tracks, destroyed trains, overgrown weeds. In the empty station, there was even a humanoid shadow standing there, looking around. Gu Qing-shan's pupils contracted as he muttered, "Strange, why does it feel so familiar?" The illusion flashed by. As Gu Qing-shan continued to fly forward, he saw many abandoned technological structures on the way. At first, there were only ordinary wooden bridges, carriages, and short buildings, but then there were steam cars, reinforced concrete buildings, clocks, airplanes, and finally, even giant mechs. All of them had been destroyed without exception. When a broken spaceship appeared in his vision, the tunnel around him had already darkened. The life talismans had lost their glow, no longer giving off any mana fluctuations. The flames around Gu Qing-shan's body were also slowly extinguished. Having lost the power to teleport, he once again hovered in the air. As Gu Qing-shan was about to draw a talisman, he noticed that the black thread had returned, coiled around his hand, and lightly pointed below him. Below, Gu Qing-shan looked down. But before he could see anything clearly, a huge pulling force abruptly appeared. He disappeared from where he stood. Shroud of night. Outside the brightly lit city, a figure slowly walked ashore from the canal. Gu Qing-shan. Standing on the shore, he casually formed a hand seal to evaporate the water on his body, then looked towards the city. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call it city. With Gu Qing-shan's current inner sight, he could even completely cover a small world, but he still couldn't find the borders of this city. Spirit energy was all over the city. Occasionally, there would be people riding clouds to ascend. Looking at the sky, there are also jade palaces and palaces that extended deep into the Milky Way. After a bit of observation, Gu Qing-shan found that none of the people here were wearing Yaksham masks. How strange. This is clearly the Wraith realm. Why aren't there any Wraiths here? Gu Qing-shan released his inner sight to carefully observe. Wherever his inner sight passed, quite a few people noticed it and couldn't help but become excited, but quickly smiled and bowed towards Gu Qing-shan's direction, saying, "So it was a Star River saint. Saintess, please accept this humble one's bow. Greetings, Saintess." Everyone followed his inner sight to greet Gu Qing-shan. Gu Qing-shan immediately retracted his inner sight. In a cultivation-type world, it was indeed rude to use inner sight to observe others. It had been a long time since he came across a cultivation-type world, so in his haste, he forgot to pay attention to this. When he first arrived at Void City, when he released his inner sight to observe the city, a cultivator noticed and reprimanded him for a bit. Now that those people were able to call out his cultivation, they must have been used to this level of inner sight quite often. I can't afford to be careless right now. Gu Qing-shan formed a modified presence concealment hand seal and slowly faded into the darkness. As the people in the city noticed the Star River Saint's inner sight disappearing, they calmed down and went back to their own business. Gu Qing-shan waited for a few moments until everything in the city returned to normal before he appeared from another direction. At this point, he had already left the canal and arrived at a secluded wilderness. A man was lying in a bush here. A sharp dagger had pierced through the man's body, causing blood to flow out. As Gu Qing-shan looked down, the black thread in his hand flew out and coiled around the man's body. Gu Qing-shan's expression became a bit strange. He was sure that he had never seen this man before, but his fate ability had connected him to this man. This is a bit hard to tell. Perhaps the thing I'm looking for is on this man. He walked forward, about to take a closer look. All of a sudden, a faint figure appeared from the man's body and stared at him. "Who are you?" Gu Qing-shan was a bit surprised, but before he could say anything, the other party hurriedly spoke. "I know. You're the black and white impermanence. I beg you. Take me away. Why should I take you away? Not to mention, I'm not the black and white impermanence," Gu Qing-shan replied. This time, it was the man's turn to be surprised. He was confused. The black and white impermanence didn't come. Who exactly are you? Chapter 1470. Gu Qing-shan didn't answer him. only crouched down and placed her hand on his chest. He made a strange expression. Although there was quite a bit of blood, the dagger didn't actually go very deep. This kind of injury is actually very easy to heal for a cultivator, and in battle, this kind of injury wouldn't be a problem at all. But why did his soul leave his body? Gu Qin closed her eyes and thought for a bit, recalling the many cultivation-type techniques that the worlds of the past taught her, one of which was a decent healing technique. Once this technique is used, it should be able to quickly heal the other party's wound. Gu Qin formed a hand seal with both hands. You clearly still have one breath left. Why did your soul leave your body? Gu Qin gathered all her spirit energy and asked first. The man's soul hovered in the air. Having noticed that Gu Qin was a cultivator, he clasped his fist. Greetings, fellow Tao Seeker. This is a unique technique that I created myself, able to allow my soul to leave my body before I die. I'm not a ghost right now, but a soul that can communicate with living beings. Gu Qin couldn't help but ask. Soul leaving your body before you die? What's the main use of this technique? It can make people die earlier, the man pridefully replied. Gu Qin, what's there to be proud of about dying earlier? Wait a minute. Gu Qin suddenly realized something. If I want my soul to leave my body, I need to use seal body in shift and soul comes soul goes secret arts to enter a state of suspended animation and head Huang Quan. This person was able to create a similar technique. Although it's still far from being a secret art, he can still be considered a genius. Gu Qin clasped her fist. So fellow Tao Seeker had created a technique that allows me to die earlier. What a unique and ingenious technique. This humble one is truly impressed hearing her say that. The man joyfully exclaimed, Good, very good. I've finally met someone who knows what they're doing. Unlike those old bullnoses who are so inflexible, Gu Qinshan's heart skipped a beat. She asked with a smile, Fellow Taoist, you were handsome and talented. You had a bright future ahead of you. Why did you die here? The man angrily said, I was originally talented and good-looking, erudite and knowledgeable, a pillar supporting the heavens. Gu Qin interrupted him. Fellow Taoist, supporting the sky is not used to describe talent. The man paused, muttering to himself, to be able to fuse the will of heaven and earth, a pillar supporting the heavens in the southern region. Actually, this idiom can also be used to describe a person who is able to shoulder great responsibilities and who is able to accomplish great things. Gu Qin also pondered and said, What you said seems to be right. Please continue. The man said, I was originally a pillar supporting the heavens. Fellow Taoist, please get to the point. Ah, very well. I was such a talented person, but because I was too outstanding, I became a nobody, attracting the jealousy of others. A tree wants to be quiet, but the wind doesn't stop it, causing others to be jealous. In the end, I was framed and slandered by a bunch of nobodies. My reputation in the academy is now at rock bottom, about to be expelled. What meaning do I have left to live on? I might as well die and reincarnate as soon as possible, starting all over again, the man sighed. Gu Qin asked, Then how did those people frame you? As soon as this was mentioned, the man trembled in anger, shouting, They said that I wandered around the red light district, lusted after beauties, indulging myself in pleasure every day, not thinking of seeking Tao. But you didn't actually go to that kind of place? Gu Qin asked. I did, the man answered. Gu Qin, if it wasn't for the thread of fate connecting them, he really would have turned around and left. Seeing his expression, the man could guess what he was thinking and hurriedly said, Fellow Taoist, you've misunderstood the main point of this matter. What's the main point? Gu Qin asked. The main point is that they said that I didn't think of seeking Tao. That's just an empty insult to my reputation. In truth, who doesn't know that I, Su Qing, have been cultivating diligently ever since I entered the academy, creating many spells and techniques, becoming stronger by the day, a strong contender for the upcoming 7 Academies Tao sparring, the man answered. Gu Qin took a deep breath, asking, Just because someone tried to frame you, you're seeking death? They've already convinced the disciplinary elder to call for an academy-wide assembly at dawn to criticize me in front of everyone. then kick me out of the academy, Su Qing resolutely said. But they don't know that I'd rather die than suffer such humiliation. Gu Qing Shan tried asking. If a talented disciple like you were to die, wouldn't it be a loss for the academy? Su Qing replied, Humph. Now that the 7 Academies Dao sparring is about to begin, if a pillar of support like me were to suddenly fall, our Kunlun Daoist Academy's strength would surely be greatly damaged. A perfect opportunity for the disciplinary elder to shoot himself in the foot, as well as to let the entire academy know that it was them who caused my death. Gu Qingshan face-bombed for a few moments, unable to say a single word. He suddenly lowered his voice and said, Fellow Daoist Su, if you want to die, I won't stop you, but you might have something I want on you. Can you open your inventory bag and help me take a look? Something? Su Qing doubtfully asked. Yes, I'm looking for something related to me. Can you revive first and help me take a look? Gu Qingshan asked. His gaze fell onto his left arm. The black thread flew out and wrapped itself around the inventory bag at Su Qing's waist. You want me to revive first? Hearing that, Su Qing looked at Gu Qingshan with a strange expression. That's right, fellow Daoist Su. I'm indeed looking for something, Gu Qingshan explained. What are you looking for? Su Qing asked. I need to see what you have first to know what I'm looking for, Gu Qingshan answered. Su Qing's expression once again showed a meaningful expression. What is it? Gu Qingshan didn't understand. Su Qing clasped his fist. I won't hide it from you, fellow Daoist. Ever since I joined the path of Dao, I've seen people stealing things. I've also seen people robbing others. I've even seen people killing others for their treasures, but I've never seen someone like you who would even rob a soul. How creative this humble one is. In awe, Gu Qingshan's finger twitched, almost activating a sword seal. He took a deep breath and restrained himself. Fellow Daoist Su, I'm not robbing. Su Qing raised his hand to stop him. Very well. You and I have never met before. We've only met by chance and had a pleasant conversation. So I'll help you, Su Qing said. His soul formed a hand seal in the air and slowly returned to his body. Seeing that, Gu Qingshan circulated her spirit energy to release a healing technique to help him heal his wounds. Su Qing opened his eyes, stood up from the ground, tapped his inventory bag, and took out his things one by one. You want spirit stones? Su Qing took out a handful of spirit stones and asked. I don't, Gu Qingshan answered. Su Qing was surprised and muttered, You don't want spirit stones? Could it be? Took out a few albums of beauties and said reluctantly, I've been collecting them for 3 whole years. I'll give them all to you now, Gu Qingshan said. I don't want them. Su Qing looked at him strangely and said, These are the most precious things I have. What exactly do you want? I don't know either. Please take out everything else, and let me take a look, Gu Qingshan told him honestly. Su Qing turned the inventory bag upside down and shook it a bit. Clatter, clatter. A bunch of broken things fell to the ground. The black thread on Gu Qingshan's arm flew out and coiled around something. It was a fragment about half the size of a finger, made from an unknown material, but its surface was glowing beautifully. As Gu Qingshan waved his hand, the fragment flew back into his hand. Lines of glowing text appeared on the war god. UI, frowny face, discovered some Sura delimitation sword fragments. Attention, you need to collect all of the fragments to have a chance to reforge this sword. Gu Qingshan's heart calmed down. That's right, this is it. I came here from the great tomb of myriad beasts and finally found the first fragment of the Samsara delimitation sword. Only by reviving the sword can I once again suppress the great tomb and save the tomb of myriad beasts from the threat of the apocalypse. Fellow Dao Seeker Su, where did you get this? Gu Qingshan asked. This thing? A few days ago, I picked it up by the stream. At the time, I thought it was a beautiful piece of jade, so I was going to look through some smithing books to see what it was. But I've been framed for the past few days, so I've been delayed, Gu Qingshan said. Fellow Dao Seeker Su, this is what I'm looking for. Take it. I'm going to die anyways. There's no point in keeping it, Su Qing answered without hesitation. Thank you. Gu Qingshan put the sword fragment away. At this point, the black thread on his hand disappeared like mist, then reformed into a thread again. The black thread was pointing at the great city outside the wilderness. The next fragment should be inside the city. Gu Qingshan looked at Su Qing, then clasped his fist. Then, fellow Dao Seeker Su, I'll be taking my leave. Go do what you need to do. I also need to die quickly, Su Qing replied. Gu Qingshan nodded, then turned around and left. Behind him, Su Qing raised his dagger high up, then stabbed it towards his own chest. Gu Qingshan took a few steps forward, his eyes flickered, then suddenly called out, "Stop him!" Clang, a clear sound of impact. A long sword as clear as autumn water blocked the dagger. Su Qing asked in surprise, "Fellow Dao Seeker, what are you doing?" Gu Qingshan stood still for a while before sighing. He returned and looked at Su Qing. "Fellow Dao Seeker Su, what you're doing isn't enough to take revenge on those people, why not?" Su Qing asked. "Because they wanted to get rid of you in the first place, didn't they?" Gu Qingshan asked in return. "But if I die, it will be a great loss to the Institute," Su Qing replied. Gu Qingshan replied, "But a dead person wouldn't give you any benefits. Once you die, you'll lose your value. No one would go to war for a dead person, unless it's someone close to you. I don't have anyone close to me. My parents all died in the previous Wraith War," Su Qing replied. Gu Qingshan silently sighed, then said, "That is indeed the case. If you die, you'll only die for nothing." Su Qing appeared confused. Gu Qingshan took a step forward and continued, "You gave me a treasure, so I'll help you as repayment. What do you think?" Su Qing shook her head. "Their forces are very powerful. A few of them are even young masters sent down from the heavens, so there's nothing I can do." Gu Qingshan smiled. He patted Su Qing's shoulder and said, "Facing the pain of others, some people will be defeated and forever live in the painful memories, while others will use this pain to endure humiliation and finally grow into a combatant capable of controlling their own fate." Su Qing looked at him in surprise, then asked, "You're very good at enduring humiliation?" Gu Qingshan felt a bit awkward, then thought for a bit before replying. "Reason is only reason. You don't need to use it on me. I have a short temper. Not to be trifled with, I don't hold back when I kill." Chapter 1471. Violent Temper? Merciless when killing? Hearing Gu Qingshan's words, Su Qing couldn't help but ask, "Fellow Dao Seeker, may I ask your name?" Gu Qingshan, what a strange name. I haven't heard of any murderous demons appearing recently either. Su Qing muttered to herself, then asked, "Fellow Dao Seeker Gu, I saw you use a flying sword just now. So you're a sword cultivator?" "That's right," Gu Qingshan admitted. Su Qing showed an "I knew it" expression and said, "Sword cultivators like you always fight to the death if you don't agree, so of course no one dares to mess with you. But I'm a technique cultivator. I specialize in creating new spells. I'm not good at fighting. That's why I'm always bullied." Gu Qingshan smiled. Sword cultivators usually believe that the best way to solve a problem is to make someone shut up and stop fighting. There are many ways to make someone shut up and stop fighting. A sword cultivator's method is the most direct. I didn't think it would be the same in this world. Gu Qingshan said, "Fellow Dao Seeker Su, what do you plan to do now? Tell me. I'll help you think about it." Su Qing sighed and said, "Fellow Dao Seeker Gu, after hearing what you said just now, I don't want to die, but I don't have any way to change the current situation." "What kind of situation? Being scolded by the elder?" Gu Qingshan asked. Su Qing replied, "That's right, after dawn, the disciplinary elder will call for an academy meeting. Everyone in the academy will be there. They will chase me out of the academy in front of everyone." Gu Qingshan became serious and asked, "Who exactly wants to deal with you?" "I'm not sure, but it's definitely those who are jealous of me. They have a lot of influence," Su Qing answered. "What's their relationship with the disciplinary elder?" Gu Qingshan asked again. "Who knows? I've never cared about such things," Su Qing replied. "Apart from the disciplinary elder, what do the other elders of the Dao Academy think of this matter?" Gu Qingshan asked again. "I spend most of my time studying spells. How would I know these things?" Su Qing shook her head. Gu Qingshan's mouth moved, but she didn't say anything hurtful in the end. He didn't know anything. How were they supposed to deal with this? Gu Qingshan secretly sighed. At this time, Su Qing said, "Brother Gu, I also know that this matter is very difficult. Why don't I just die? When I start over in my next life, I will definitely live a better life." As he spoke, he raised his dagger again. "Wait a minute," Gu Qingshan said. The other party had given him the fragments of the sixth delimitation sword, and he had said that he would help the other party once in return. Moreover, directly entering the cultivation grounds would be the fastest way to understand the true situation of this world. Then I'll have to think of something. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then said, "Right now, we're completely blind and don't know anything, which will make things even more difficult. But I do have a final solution." "What solution?" Su Qing asked. "Collect information on the spot. After understanding the situation, we'll act according to the situation," Gu Qingshan replied. Su Qing wasn't an idiot, so after a bit of thought, he asked, "You mean we'll think of a solution on the spot during the meeting to criticize me?" "Indeed, as the saying goes, the dagger will be revealed when the map is revealed. In order to kick you out of the Tao Academy, a lot of things will be exposed at the final moment," Gu Qingshan replied. Su Qing appeared troubled and said, "I'm afraid I won't be able to handle it." Gu Qingshan looked at him from top to bottom, then said, "You're a cultivator, so you've never paid attention to or cared about such dirty dealings. But in order to kick you out of the Tao Academy, the other party has already prepared numerous measures, so you definitely won't be able to handle it." He seemed to have thought of something as he appeared to be reminiscing, then continued, "Furthermore, you're usually a womanizer, a playboy. Although you don't harbor any ill intentions, your actions are easily criticized by others, which is similar to my senior brother." "Huh. My senior brother is also a good person, but he doesn't like to cultivate." "Very well, I'll save you this once. Then what should I do?" Su Qing asked. "Tell me a bit about the basic situation. I'll take your place," Gu Qingshan said. Su Qing was stunned, asking after a while, if you go, even if you don't die, you'll still lose a layer of skin." "I'll go," Gu Qingshan nodded. What do you intend to do?" Su Qing asked. "How would I know? I don't even know who harmed you right now." "We'll talk about it when we get there," Gu Qingshan answered. Su Qing looked at him, only to see his calm expression, as if he was talking about eating, not accepting an examination. "Fine, fellow Dao Seeker Gu. Since you've saved me today, I'll definitely repay you in the future." Su Qing gritted his teeth. In the middle of an endless barren wasteland, there was a giant city called Kunlun. This city was so vast that even Gu Qingshan's inner sight couldn't reach its end. Other than Kunlun, there was also a palace in the sky called Jasper Pool. Jasper Pool was the residence of heavenly beings. Mortals who lived in Kunlun were collectively referred to as the living beings of Kunlun. If the living beings of Kunlun wanted to ascend to the heavens, they could only do their best to cultivate, stand out from the masses, receive the recognition of the immortal palace, and ascend to the heavens. This was the iron law of the world. Even the descendants of the heavenly beings of Jasper Pool must descend to the mortal realm to cultivate until they've reached perfection and reached a high enough realm before they could ascend again. There were 7 academies in Kunlun City, named Dubhe, Merak, Fekta, Migrez, Alioth, Mizar, and Alcade. All of them were places where living beings of Kunlun cultivated. At dawn, Gu Qingshan stood at the gate of Alioth Academy, silently recalling the basic information Su Qing told him. At this point, he had completely turned into Su Qing's appearance, not a single part of his body, including his inner sight, flesh, and blood. He looked at the jade talisman in his hand, only to see a single line of words carved on it, frowny face, spell 5th. This was Su Qing's ID card, representing his position among the spell cultivators of Alioth Academy. It's been 9 years since Su Qing entered the academy to receive teachings. To be able to rank in the top 5 in just 9 years, one could only say that he was truly talented. However, the reason why he was ranked so high wasn't because he was strong, but because he had pioneered many spells, doing many things that shocked even the elders. For example, the early death technique. From the perspective of some of the elders of the academy, this technique was completely worthless, went against the laws of life and death, and was a heresy. But Gu Qingshan didn't think that to be the case. He had been through countless worlds, seen countless abilities and spells, received the knowledge of the cultivation civilization passed down from the various worlds of the past. So his knowledge wasn't something a normal person could compare to, which was why he felt that this technique wasn't as simple as it seemed. From the perspective of the nature of the technique, he would find that this early death technique broke the laws of life and death, allowing a person to die a little earlier if they wanted to. This was a controllable death, although it wasn't very useful right now. If this technique was continued to be researched, perhaps one day, it would be able to allow a person to control their own death. That would become a life-prolonging technique that broke through the boundaries of life and death, a true divine skill. Gu Qingshan was willing to help Su Qing because he received the delimitation sword fragment from her, as well as because the other party's situation was similar to his in the past life. Both of them were alone and were ostracized, so he couldn't help but cherish his talent. Gu Qingshan held the jade talisman and silently waited. It should be about time. While he was thinking, the jade talisman suddenly lit up. A solemn voice resounded from the jade talisman. All elders and disciples, please proceed to the sparring platform. Today, the disciplinary elder will be explaining the rules of the Tao, as well as making a judgment on the technique. Cultivator Su Qing, the voice rang out 3 times in a row before it stopped. A few moments later, 2 middle-aged cultivators descended from above, landing in front of Gu Qingshan. Su Qing, everyone else is cultivating, yet you went out to run wild. Let's see what happens to you today. Come, the disciplinary elder is waiting for you on the sparring platform. Saying so, the 2 of them came up to carry Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan didn't resist and let the 2 of them take him all the way to the sparring platform. At this point, the crowd below the platform was already filled with cultivators of the entire Tao Academy. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Gu Qingshan was pushed by the 2 of them onto the sparring platform, barely managing to stand back up after rolling a few times. A wave of mocking laughter resounded from below. It wasn't until the elders looked over with stern expressions that the voices slowly disappeared. All the voices returned to silence. Even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. It was now that a dignified voice resounded from above. Su Qing, do you know your crime? Gu Qingshan opened his eyes wide and spoke with an innocent expression. Know my crime? What crime? The voice in the sky didn't seem to expect such a reaction from him and scoffed, then continued. You are a cultivator who is half-hearted. Your actions are absurd, and you've ruined the Tao Academy's reputation. Even now, you still want to deny it? Gu Qingshan took out his jade talisman, showed it to everyone, and loudly declared, this humble one is the 5th strongest technique cultivator in the entire Tao Academy. If half-hearted can achieve such a result, do you think the other cultivators would be able to endure it? The voice in the sky spoke. You are. Gu Qingshan cut him off and abruptly shouted. If you don't agree, come up here and fight me. Today, I'm going to be the strongest of Yu Hung Academy. He pointed down and continued. Don't play any tricks with this young master. If you don't agree, come up here and I'll beat you until you're convinced. The crowd went into an uproar. Everyone was so shocked that they even forgot to breathe. The way things are developing seems to be completely different from what he said at the start. We were just talking about violating the rules of cultivation. So why did it turn into Su Qing wanting to fight the entire crowd? He's flipping the table. Could it be he has something to rely on? The sky went silent. A few moments later, the dignified voice became even colder, once again resounding across the entire crowd. Su Qing, you've been flirting with other girls every day, never improving yourself. You've brought shame to the Tao Academy. Don't even mention sparring with other disciples. We need to first clarify your problem with the rules. Everyone looked at Su Qing. The older, the wiser. The disciplinary elder didn't give Su Qing any chance to vent his anger and directly dealt with him. I don't care what kind of fortuitous encounter you had. I'm going to use the Tao Academy's rules to kick you out of the academy. What can you do about it? Sure enough, Su Qing's face was flushed red as he stammered, unable to say anything. May I ask, is the dean here? Su Qing loudly asked. The voice in the sky replied, Of course the dean is here, but the dean wouldn't do such a dirty thing for you. Gu Qingshan once again cut him off and loudly declared, the disciplinary elder openly suppressed this Su Qing on the eve of the 7 Academies Tao discussion without any investigation. I, Su Qing, beg the dean to restore my reputation on the spot in order to uphold the Tao Academy's honor. I, Su Qing, have always been focused on Tao. Everything I do is only for the sake of comprehending Tao and sword skills. I asked the dean to investigate. The crowd went silent. No one expected Su Qing to say something like that. You want to restore your reputation? Do you really think others don't know what you've been doing? Sword skills? Swordsmanship is nothing but a joke. You dare to raise your sword here. Do you think the sword cultivators below are fools? Everyone couldn't help but discuss. This time, even the elders couldn't stop the crowd. The voice in the sky also stopped, as if it was contemplating. Right now, no one could understand what Su Qing was trying to do. A few moments later, Gu Qing felt an inner sight scanning through him. At the same time, a gentle female voice resounded from deep within the Tao Academy. I've already checked. Su Qing is still a virgin. There's no way he would flirt with other girls. You're mistaken. Chapter 1472. Virgin? All the elders and disciples were stunned. Gu Qing was no exception. How did it end up like this? According to the disciplinary elder's usual style, he would surely bring out a large amount of evidence, combined with the sect's rules, and use an irrefutable argument to expel a disciple with a bad reputation from the academy. In everyone's minds, Su Qing's fate had already been decided. There was no way to change it. But he's still a virgin? That's incredible. From another perspective, he was seeking pleasure outside, but this was the result. This proved that he was indeed experiencing the mortal world to temper his Tao heart, and that his Tao heart had always been clear. If that's the case, Su Qing shouldn't be expelled. He should be praised instead. But entering the academy for 9 years, yet still a virgin. This is unbelievable. He's able to endure loneliness too well. Everyone slowly regained their senses and looked at Gu Qing with various gazes. After being stunned for a moment, Gu Qing also began to ponder. According to my original plan, after calling for the dean, I would use a few high-level techniques in front of everyone, followed by a few sword techniques to prove that Su Qing's previous promiscuity was only for the convenience of entering the mortal world and tempering his Tao heart. His ultimate goal was to increase his cultivation. What happens next would be even easier. I'll beat up anyone who's not convinced, and when no disciple dares to step forward, it would prove my words. As the strongest disciple, no one would be able to blame him, let alone expel him from the academy. But the situation wasn't as Gu Qing had expected. The dean had seen through everything from the very beginning. Even a god wouldn't be able to predict this. Gu Qing took a deep breath, slowly regained her composure, and met the eyes of the elders and disciples below. This is fine, although it's different from what I expected. It saved me a lot of trouble. But why do I feel so uncomfortable? Gu Qing held back his emotions and imitated Su Qing, raising his head high. I've always been an unparalleled genius, talented in both looks and talent, knowledgeable in both ancient and modern times, a crane among chickens, pure as jade and as clear as ice. Yet you dare to slander me as a womanizer and a disregard for the precepts of the academy? What a joke. As Gu Qing spoke, she walked toward the edge of the Tao discussion stage. He deliberately walked very slowly. Now, the dean had personally spoken. Those people wanted to punish Su Qing with the reason of violating the commandments, but it no longer made sense. If someone really wanted to frame Su Qing, then they had to take advantage of the fact that all the elders and even the dean were present to quickly come up with other methods. Otherwise, once Su Qing jumped off the stage, it would be equivalent to all the previous preparations going to waste, and they wouldn't be able to find out what was wrong with Su Qing. Gu Qing walked forward step by step, silently counting in her heart. 5, 4, 3. There were only a few steps left before he could jump off the Tao exchange platform. Suddenly, a male voice rang out. Su Qing, since you used the method of entering the world to temper your Tao heart and improve your comprehension, you even said that you want to fight everyone. I'm not convinced today. Everyone looked over and saw a cultivator jumping onto the Tao discussion stage and shouting at Gu Qing. Gu Qing stopped walking. He's finally here. Why are you not convinced? He looked at the other party and asked with interest. I'm the strongest cultivator of the Tao discussion stage, and you dare to say that you can beat me into submission? That makes me very unhappy, the cultivator replied. Ah, so that's how it is. Gu Qingshan observed the other party, feeling a bit annoyed. He didn't give off any killing intent at all. Instead, he appeared to be angry. This person isn't the one who framed Su Qing. As the strongest cultivator of the Tao discussion stage, his status is higher than Su Qing's, so he doesn't have any conflict of interest with Su Qing. There's no need to argue with this person. With that in mind, Gu Qingshan waved her hand dismissively. Those were only words I said out of anger. Just take it as it is, don't take it to heart. Is that true? The other party asked. Ahaha. Of course it is. This Su Qing isn't an arrogant person. It's just that sometimes I can't hold back my words when I'm angry. Please forgive this humble 1 inch while saying so. Gu Qingshan smiled and bowed to the crowd below. The other cultivator didn't expect him to say something like that, so his anger subsided a bit, but his expression was a bit hesitant. Earlier, Su Qing said that he would fight everyone, but now that he apologized, the other disciples who felt offended also felt a bit less displeased. At this point, a cold scoff came from below the stage. Someone spoke up. The strongest cultivator of the Tao discussion stage is truly a coward, easily pacified by a single sentence. Gu Qingshan followed the voice and saw that it was a male cultivator with a blade on his back. As soon as he said that, quite a few people voiced their agreement. More and more followed suit. After saying so, the male cultivator didn't even look at Gu Qingshan and instead stared at the cultivator across from Gu Qingshan with a mocking expression. It's this person? Gu Qingshan silently thought. This kind of instigation and provocation is quite interesting. Standing across from him, the strongest cultivator of the Tao discussion stage heard everyone's discussion and couldn't help but feel embarrassed. He took out a long-handled scepter that gave off faint starlight and swung it with all his might. The invisible fluctuations of the technique abruptly spread. A second later, the clouds in the sky parted to reveal a hole. Pure starlight shone down from the depths of the clouds, illuminating the entire sparring ring. Being enveloped by the starlight, Gu Qingshan immediately sensed it, as if there was a threatening power that was waiting to be unleashed from above the 9 heavens. Below the sparring ring, a loud commotion could be heard. Gu Qingshan looked down from the platform, only to see that quite a few disciples were shocked. Even the elders couldn't help but exchange glances. This technique seems quite impressive. Gu Qingshan silently thought. The man maintained the technique, wiped the sweat off his forehead, and shouted, Su Qing, this is our academy's 4th-ranked technique, Radiant Radiance Fall. It's so powerful that it can instantly kill you without leaving even your bones behind. Gu Qingshan went silent for a split second. At this point, all he needed to do was praise the other party a bit and give himself a way out of this situation. But his gaze turned to the cultivator with the blade on his back. The cultivator was also staring at him. Gu Qingshan's thoughts turned and spoke to the cultivator across from her. Give it to me. The man was surprised and asked, What are you talking about? Gu Qingshan reached her finger out and tapped his scepter, saying, It's only a technique of this level. As long as you lend me your scepter, I'll be able to perform it as well. The man froze. Radiant Radiance Fall was one of Kunlun's top techniques. Of those who learned this technique, 7 to 8 out of 10 would be able to successfully ascend. And now Su Qing said that he was able to perform it as well. How could anyone believe that? Never mind him. Even the spectating disciples were a bit stunned. All right, I'll give it to you. I'd like to see what you're capable of, the cultivator said. He tossed the scepter to Gu Qingshan, then reminded her worriedly, Be careful. This is a treasure of the academy. I'm only borrowing it to study the technique, don't worry. Gu Qingshan said and received the scepter. Lines of glowing text immediately appeared in the void in front of him. Starlight Condensing Scepter, a high-ranked scepter. This scepter is a unique scepter for Starlight technique, capable of drawing upon the power of the stars to unleash a powerful attack. One must be extremely careful when using it. This scepter has performed the following techniques. Firstly, Radiant Radiance Fall. Secondly, Soaring Sky Fall. Thirdly, Star Soul. The details are as follows. Radiant Radiance Fall is the foundation of starlight techniques. Its effect is similar to the falling of the stars. Soaring Skyfall is, as you've received advanced cultivation-type knowledge from the various worlds of the past, thoroughly comprehending it for your own use. The soul points required to comprehend the above 3 starlight techniques has been greatly reduced. To comprehend all of them will require a total of 100,000 soul points. Are you sure you want to comprehend them? Gu Qingshan didn't hesitate at all. I can help Su Qing for now, but I can't help him forever. It's better to use this chance to directly eliminate the threat. This will definitely create a deterrent effect, so that anyone who wants to mess with Su Qing will have to think twice before doing so. 100,000 soul points isn't much. Comprehend them all, Gu Qingshan said. Instantly, a warm flow flowed from the scepter into Gu Qingshan's arm, converged, and slowly flowed into his thought sea. Gu Qingshan lightly swung the scepter. The clouds dispersed in all directions like flowing water. Numerous palaces could be seen clearly in the sky. Above the palaces, starlight began to manifest at the same time, converging into a blinding cluster of light that descended from above. Gu Qingshan caught the cluster of light. The intense starlight exuded enough power to destroy everything. How is it? Have I ever lied to you? Gu Qingshan casually asked. The cultivator opened his mouth wide, only speaking after a long while. This is Soaring Skyfall. Soaring Skyfall was one of the most powerful starlight techniques, extremely difficult to comprehend. There weren't many people in the entire Yu Hong Academy who could comprehend this technique, including the elders. Gu Qingshan waved his hand to dispel the technique, then threw the scepter back. He clasped his fist. This humble one's usual actions have always been ridiculous, which led to today's incident. But this humble one's heart and soul have always been focused on Tao techniques. I have never intended to harm anyone. If I've offended you in any way, it was unintentional. I hope fellow Tao seeker won't take it to heart. The cultivator received the scepter, clasping his fist to return the greeting. How long did it take you to learn Soaring Skyfall? Very quickly, Gu Qingshan replied. The cultivator sighed. I'm not as good as you. Saying so, he jumped off the stage. Only Gu Qingshan was left on the stage. Everyone silently watched him. From now on, he's the #1 spell user, someone commented in a low voice. This Su Qing is truly indescribable. Could it be experiencing the mortal world is really that useful? The minds of the disciples churned as they pondered whether they should take a trip to the secular world while cultivating. Perhaps they'll become the second Su Qing, even if they can't achieve the same effect as him. It's good enough to increase their cultivation. Quite a few people made up their minds. After that, Su Qing's matter spread, causing quite a commotion among the 7 academies of Kunlun City. About a year later, the population of Kunlun City increased by a large margin. If they didn't know the full story, they wouldn't be able to imagine the relationship between Su Qing and the world's population. Of course, this is a different topic, so there's no need to mention it. Below the stage, the cultivator with the blade was still staring at Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan's feet moved as he walked out of the stage. A few more steps, and he'll be walking down the stage. If that's the case, today's matter will end here. The elders and the dean will all leave, and it won't be easy to cause trouble for Su Qing again. The cultivator with the blade scowled and slowly drew his blade from his back. Gu Qingshan had been paying attention to him this entire time, so he casually said, if there's nothing else, this Su Qing will be going down. I hope the disciplinary elder won't be tricked by those scoundrels again, summoning everyone here for no reason and doing things that ruin someone's reputation. Saying so, he walked down the stage. The entire audience was silent. All of a sudden, the cultivator with the blade jumped onto the stage and shouted, "Wait!" Chapter 1473. Gu Qingshan stopped. Finally, the other party couldn't help but attack. Fellow Tao Seeker, what do you want? Gu Qingshan looked at the other party and asked. The cultivator wielded his blade and replied, just now, you said that you practice swordsmanship. How could swordsmanship be something that a normal person could achieve? Take out your sword. Gu Shan asked. Why would I draw my sword? Because I suspect that you're just spouting nonsense, that you've never practiced any swordsmanship, that you're just being arrogant, the blade-wielding cultivator replied. Gu Shan then said, that doesn't seem to have anything to do with you. I practice the path of the blade, which is all about following one's heart. What you did a few days ago made me feel displeased. So I came here to see if you're just a swindler or a truly talented one-inch, the cultivator replied. Why did a few days ago? What kind of things? Su Qing didn't say anything about that. Gu Shan's thoughts quickly turned, then replied, following your heart? So whoever displeases you will die? No need to use flowery words. As long as we fight, I'll naturally be able to see through you. Come, let me see your sword, the cultivator said. Gu Shan clasped her hands behind her back and went silent. What exactly is going on? Although the other party was exuding killing intent, it was mostly anger and disdain. Did Su Qing really do something unforgivable? Gu Shan immediately recalled what Su Qing told her before she left. This Su actually doesn't have any enemies. If someone tried to frame me, they only wanted to kick me out of the academy. That's why if you get into a conflict with someone, there's no need to kill them. Just teach them a lesson for me, not kill them. While thinking, Gu Shan asked, which means you want to fight me to the death. Everyone here can be my witness. We'll fight to the death based on our own abilities, the cultivator replied. He casually clapped his hand in the void of space, manifesting a full suit of armor that manifested into various components that covered his body. The cultivator swung his blade, full of fighting spirit. Seeing this, Gu Shan hesitated. This is the world of cultivation, and I can't take out my swords. After all, with Su Qing's identity, I can't explain the origins of those 4 swords. Whether it was heaven and earth, the 6 paths great mountain, or the Chaoyin sword, they were all divine armaments. Any one of them would cause a huge commotion. Besides, when Su Qing became ruthless, he would stab himself with a dagger, just to let others think that it was the elder who killed him. But now he wouldn't let them kill. Could it be that the other party was too powerful, so they were afraid that there would be endless retaliation after killing them? That made sense. After all, Su Qing still had to continue cultivating in the Tao Academy. She couldn't keep getting herself into trouble. But a few days ago, what did Su Qing do? Gu Shan pondered for a few moments, but the blade-wielding cultivator took it as a sign of fear. The blade-wielding cultivator sneered. What? You dare to talk big, but don't dare to fight for real? This time, he was truly filled with killing intent. Gu Shan immediately sensed it and focused his gaze. All of a sudden, the dean's voice resounded in his mind. You can fight him, or you can concede, but you absolutely cannot take his life. Because his family is a heavenly being, if you kill him, you will bring great trouble upon yourself. And you'll also be killed by a heavenly being, not to mention you were the one in the wrong in the first place. Su Qing, you better take care of yourself, the one in the wrong. Gu Shan was surprised. As the dean of the Tao Academy, his words naturally carry weight. Seems like there's more to this than meets the eye. No wonder even someone as ruthless as Su Qing wasn't willing to kill him. With that in mind, Gu Shan told the blade-wielding cultivator, let's just spar. There's no need to fight to the death. As everyone knows, a duel to the death is a shortcut to becoming stronger. Are you afraid? The blade-wielding cultivator coldly asked. Gu Shan sighed and shook her head. You want to kill people because they don't go your way? That won't increase your strength. Instead, as you kill more and more people, your killing intent will turn into a demon in your heart, slowly causing you to indulge in harming living beings until you die from the backlash, the cultivator mocked. Then tell me, what kind of duel to the death can increase my strength? Gu Shan glanced at him. Something seemed to have happened in the void of space. Instantly, the blade-wielding cultivator felt the omen of death in his mind. Then his entire body froze. A mist of blood spread from his forehead. A voice resounded from the other side. The blade is a martyr for Tao, advancing forward with indomitable will. Killing people will not increase your strength. The only way to quickly increase your strength is to throw away your life and challenge cultivators stronger than you. Gu Shan casually explained. Hearing that, the blade-wielding cultivator slowly looked down at his own body. Following his gaze, the full body armor shattered with a loud bang and fell to the ground, scattering into a fine cloud of smoke. The wind picked up, the dust scattered. Forgetting River's slash, Gu Qingshan had controlled this iris sword divine skill to weaken it several times over and unleash it so easily, resulting in such a result. The blade-wielding cultivator looked at the numerous shallow sword marks on his body and sighed. If the other party wanted to kill him, he would have already been cut into pieces. He looked at Gu Qingshan and asked, "Iris sword, technique. No wonder I've never seen you practice it before. Did you learn it when you were experiencing the mortal world?" "I did," Gu Qingshan admitted. The blade-wielding cultivator asked, "Why didn't you kill me?" Gu Qingshan replied, "After I kill you, someone will definitely come to avenge you. That would waste my cultivation time." The blade-wielding cultivator went silent briefly, then asked, "You're afraid of wasting time?" "That's right, so you're a Dao fanatic. Now I know why you were able to experience the mortal world without losing your mind." Saying so, the blade-wielding cultivator leapt off the platform and walked outside. Standing on the platform, Gu Qingshan called out to him, "Hey, can we just write it off?" This sentence was a hook. Regardless of what Su Qing did before, as soon as the other party heard Su Qing's words, he would definitely say something about what happened a few days ago. That way, Gu Qingshan will be able to obtain some information. Not to mention, as long as our grudges are written off, Su Qing would be able to peacefully cultivate. All I need to do is teach him the mysteries of the Star Force scriptures, and I'll be able to repay his favor. Killing two birds with one stone. The cultivator stopped, then spoke without turning around. "If you're so strong, you shouldn't have been hiding it before and let others misunderstand you. Also, since you're still a virgin, that means that you didn't do anything inappropriate with my sister a few nights ago. Naturally, I won't bother you anymore." The blade-wielding cultivator turned around, observing Gu Qingshan. "Your talents can also be considered outstanding. I hope that you can cultivate well. Only after you've ascended will you be qualified to officially date her instead of having a secret rendezvous." Gu Qingshan froze in place. So that's what happened. This man came down from the sky. His younger sister is also a descendant of a heavenly being. No wonder he was able to easily convince the disciplinary elder to specifically deal with Su Qing, swearing to kick Su Qing out of the academy. Bastard Su Qing. He was hesitating when he warned me. So it turns out he did such a good deed. All of Gu Qingshan's killing intent disappeared. She forced a smile and awkwardly replied, "I understand. You need to cultivate hard." The cultivator nodded to her, then disappeared without a trace. Noon. Gu Qingshan finally found some time to leave the academy while no one was paying attention. He found Su Qing at a waterside pavilion in the city. That person is a descendant of a heavenly being family. That's the entire story. The dean said that he hopes that you can cultivate well and achieve a good result in the sparring session of the 7 academies in 3 days. He'll summon you again at that time. Gu Qingshan handed him a jade tag and continued, "Your matter has been dealt with. I'll now teach you a few more star techniques. All of their secrets are in the jade tag. You need to learn them as soon as possible so that you don't get exposed. Also, don't mess with his younger sister for now. Wait until after you've ascended." Su Qing received the jade tag, closed her eyes, and read through it. So, it's the rising wind soars to the sky technique. I've lived on the edge of life and death for so long, but I never thought I'd be able to do this. Su Qing's expression was a bit complicated. Her tone was a bit strange. Gu Qingshan frowned. This Su Qing seems to be hiding a lot of things. But he kept reminding me not to kill anyone, which proves that he knows what he's doing. Gu Qingshan then asked, "Fellow Taoist Su, I don't think your suicide was as simple as someone trying to frame you." Su Qing didn't say anything, her expression uncertain. "Fine, this is his business. If he doesn't want to tell me, why should I pry into his secrets?" With that in mind, Gu Qingshan said, "Fellow Taoist Su, I still have something important to do, so I'll be leaving first. We'll meet again." As he was about to leave, Su Qing grabbed his arm. "Wait, fellow Taoist Gu, do you still remember what I said before?" Su Qing called out. Gu Qing Shan replied. You said a lot to me. I said, since you saved me today, I'll definitely repay you in the future, Su Qing said. Gu Qing Shan thought for a bit and quickly remembered. When I was about to disguise as Su Qing and go to the academy, Su Qing told me this. Gu Qing smiled and spoke with a gentle voice. You've already given me that fragment. That's enough. There's no need to repay me with anything else. Su Qing shook her head. Fellow Taoist Gu, you actually came from a world outside of Kunlun, didn't you? Gu Qing Shan stopped smiling. How did you know? He asked. Su Qing revealed an unfathomable expression and spoke softly. Don't worry, Brother Gu. No one would be able to discover your true identity, but I do. This is because I've been dying for a very long time, and you suddenly saved me. Gu Qing Shan looked at Su Qing and gestured for him to continue. Do you know why I studied the early death technique? Su Qing asked. Why? Gu Qing Shan asked. Because none of us can die. Every other day, the same fate will repeat itself without exception. Brother Gu, take this. It will help you. Su Qing gave another jade talisman to Gu Qing Shan and continued. Since countless years ago, I've been committing suicide once every day. Then as a wandering ghost, I've watched the events of Kunlun repeat themselves all the way until noon of the next day. He looked up at the sky, saying, the time has come. Everything will repeat itself once again, and my fate has been changed by you. I can finally die. Saying so, Su Qing formed a hand seal. The early death technique. His body slumped to the ground. His soul suddenly flew into the sky, disappearing without a trace. This time, he was truly dead. Gu Qing Shan held the jade tag and stood still. All of a sudden, the sky darkened. Time began to reverse. Chapter 1474. At the moment of Su Qing's death, Gu Qing Shan noticed something. The stream was flowing backwards. Gu Qing Shan was certain that no one was using any spells or techniques around him. He looked up at the sky. It was currently noon, but the sun was quickly setting towards the east. The sky slowly darkened. Time moved back from noon to morning. Dawn came, then was swallowed by the darkness of night. In the darkness of the night, the faint moon peeked through the clouds, illuminating the earth with its faint moonlight. The moon rose and set. The light of day once again dispelled the darkness of night. The setting sun was infinitely beautiful. At dusk, the sky was filled with the glow of the setting sun. But the crimson-red setting sun had returned to the sky, becoming brighter and brighter until it hung in the middle of the sky. Noon. It was noon again. Gu Qing Shan didn't move and only cautiously observed her surroundings. The stream returned to normal and flowed down the hill. Su Qing's body suddenly disappeared. A streak of light flew in from afar and landed in front of Gu Qing Shan. As soon as Gu Qing Shan received the communication talisman, a nervous voice resounded from its frowny face. Su Qing, it has been confirmed. Tomorrow morning, the disciplinary elder will speak about your matter in front of everyone. Su Qing, how'd I really turn into Su Qing? Gu Qing Shan threw the communication talisman away, opened her hand, and looked at the jade tag. This was the jade tag that Su Qing left for me before she died. According to Su Qing, this jade tag will be able to help me. Gu Qing Shan infused the spirit energy in her dantian to activate the jade tag. A second later, Su Qing's voice resounded from the jade tag. Frowny face, fellow Dao, Seeker Gu. You must seriously listen to what I'm about to say. For countless years, the world of Kunlun had a constant day, from noon on the first day all the way noon on the second day. During this period, everything would repeat itself without exception. Almost no one noticed this, except me, because on this day, I was the only cultivator who chose to commit suicide. When my soul left my body, I seemed to have broken some kind of spell, so every time I came back, I could always remember how I died. I don't know why the world has become like this, but I've stayed in this world for a long time. Every time I die, I go deep into Kunlun City as a soul and figure out everyone and everything, but I still can't find the answer. Until recently, when I was about to die again, a fragment fell from the sky and landed in front of me. That's right. It's the fragment that you want to take. When it descended, there was a strange phenomenon in the sky. All the immortals in the Jade Pool Immortal Palace suddenly disappeared. They only reappeared after I hid the fragment. Perhaps this is the key. It's a pity that I'm dying every day and suffering all the time. I'm completely powerless to change my fate, let alone ascend. Now, I can finally rest in peace. You will stay in this world and take my place. Think of a way to go to the Jade Pool Heavenly Palace. All 7 Tao academies have ways to ascend, but no one can cultivate them to perfection in a single day and fulfill the conditions for ascension. You come from the outside world and are so strong. There's definitely hope for you to unravel the secrets of this world. I can't stand this world anymore. Goodbye. The voice disappeared at this point. Gu Qingshan was silent for a few moments, then suddenly looked at the black thread in his hand. The black thread was still connected to his hand, the other end pointing somewhere in the city. No matter what, I'll first get the fragment of the delimitation sword, then think about other things. Gu Qingshan made up his mind. His figure flashed and flew in the direction the black thread was leading. 15 minutes later, he stood in front of a dilapidated temple, carefully looking around. This temple was already dilapidated, but it still took up a lot of space. There were a lot of people around, but not a single one of them looked at the temple, nor did they enter it. One end of the black thread was holding on to Gu Qingshan. The other end went through the ancient formation on the wall and went deep into the temple, so deep that he couldn't see where it was going. The entire temple was enveloped by a strange power. Within a certain range, inner sight wouldn't work. This is the power of the Dharni. It's been so long since I've seen a monk, Gu Qingshan muttered, walked to the front of the temple and loudly asked, "Is there anyone inside?" No answer. Gu Qingshan's figure flashed and entered the temple. There was a thick layer of dust everywhere. It's been too long since anyone came here. Gu Qingshan calmed down. If there's no one, that means the fragment is still safe and hasn't been taken away by anyone. Since inner sight doesn't work, he could only walk in step by step. Walking up a long flight of stairs, passing through several corridors, passing through several Buddhist halls, Gu Qingshan finally reached the deepest part of the temple. He stopped in front of the final hall. There was a hole about the size of a fist at the top of the hall. Sunlight shone through the hole, illuminating the only statue of a monk. This monk's statue was smiling, kind and friendly, but covered in dust, as if it hasn't been cleaned for many years. In the hand of the statue, there was a sharp piece of shard, the fragment of the samsara delimitation sword. Gu Qingshan's gaze fell on the fragment. He thought for a bit, then clasped his fist towards the statue. "Fellow Tao seeker, the fragment in your hand is very useful to me. I want to exchange it with something else." The monk's statue shook a bit. The dust on its body fell off. "Amipa, I've been waiting for this day." The statue opened its eyes, evaluated Gu Qingshan, then slowly shifted its gaze back to its hand. The sharp sword fragment of the monk's statue asked, "Benefactor, may I ask, who in Kunlun City has reincarnated?" He actually came back to life. As Gu Qingshan silently watched this, he quickly pondered. "Su Qing," he answered. The monk's statue asked, "So Benefactor has now become Su Qing?" Gu Qingshan replied, "That's right." The monk sighed, then continued. "Back then, we had calculated many times and found out that even though Kunlun world has been crippled and will no longer attract the Wraith's attention, as time goes by, the Wraiths will only become stronger and stronger, and will soon achieve their goal. At that time, they will destroy the eyesore Kunlun world, but before the destruction, a unique item will fall on Kunlun world." Their gazes fell on the fragment of the samsara delimitation sword at the same time. "You mean this item can save Kunlun world?" Gu Qingshan asked. "No," the monk's statue answered. "It is only an opportunity." "An opportunity?" "That's right. Look, it brought you to Kunlun world, as well as allowed this world to give birth to the first person to escape the sea of suffering after countless years." Gu Qingshan knew that the other party was talking about Su Qing, so she directly asked, "You want me to help you?" The monk raised the fragment and asked in return, "Benefactor, Do you want to obtain it? The monk flicked his finger. The samsara delimitation fragment fell into Gu Qingshan's hand. Thank you. Gu Qingshan immediately put the fragment away. The threads on his hand all disappeared. This meant that there were only 2 fragments of the samsara delimitation sword in Kunlun world. Understanding this, Gu Qingshan immediately wanted to leave this world. But now that I've replaced Su Qing, I'll have to spend countless repetitive days in this world. What should I do to escape from this situation? While he was thinking, the monk statue spoke again. The wraiths are about to catch up. You must quickly ascend to Jasper Lake Immortal Palace. Gu Qingshan looked down. At some point, a black thread had flown out into the sky, extending endlessly towards the outskirts of Kunlun City. The other party wasn't lying. There really was something that was chasing after them. The shadow of death slowly spread through Gu Qingshan's spirit sense. A sense of urgency arose. Gu Qingshan asked, "Didn't you need my help to save Kunlun world, sir? Why do you want me to ascend?" The monk statue was emotionless and calmly replied, "You must quickly escape and take the entire Kunlun world with you. You feel that I'm no match for the wraiths?" Gu Qingshan smiled and asked. The monk statue smiled and clasped his palms together. Ba, benefactor's killing intent is too heavy. This humble monk admires it. Chapter 1475. Gu Qingshan observed the monk statue. After the dust on his body had been removed, a simple monk's robe could be seen, but there was a pair of black shackles on his feet that pinned him to the ground, unable to move at all. Gu Qingshan had never seen such a situation before, so she couldn't help but feel cautious. This guy definitely isn't simple. Ba, the wraiths are about to arrive. Benefactor must quickly ascend to have a chance to escape with the world of Kunlun, the monk said. Gu Qingshan glanced at the black thread on her arm. The black thread that was thrown into the void of space was giving off a faint pulling force, as if reminding her of something. The pursuers are about to arrive. Gu Qingshan nodded to him. "I'll think of a way to ascend. Farewell," Zhao Xiaosong said. "Wait, is there anything else?" Gu Qingshan asked. The monk explained, "The 7 academies each have their own paths of ascension, consisting of a total of 81 checkpoints. Only after passing through all of them will you be able to reach the ascension platform and head towards the Jasper Lake Heavenly Palace. But the pursuers are about to arrive. You probably won't be able to pass through those checkpoints in time. Then what do I do?" Gu Qingshan asked. The monk replied, "I was the backup prepared by the heavenly beings in the past, specialized in dealing with various dangerous situations. Benefactor, I will immediately send you to ascend." Gu Qingshan doubtfully asked, "I heard that ascension is extremely difficult. One will have to face numerous difficulties. The difficulty is no less than a heaven's tribulation. You're trapped here, yet you want to send me to the heavenly palace?" It was no wonder that he was doubtful, as this was the first time they had met, and the other party was sealed inside the palace, unable to move at all. The monk didn't mind and clasped his hands together. "Benefactor, this humble one once met an extraordinary person in my early years and took him as my master. My master said that the world of Kunlun would face a great calamity sooner or later. So he taught me a few techniques to face the enemy, as well as a certain task. What is it? If one day I am trapped inside a temple, holding a foreign object in my hand and facing an otherworldly being, I must chant an incantation to prove that I am a friend and not an enemy." Gu Qingshan nodded. "Let me have a look." The monk chanted an incantation in a low voice. "Time, you are the ruler of all living beings, but you are also my best friend." Following the incantation, streams of quicksand appeared out of thin air and flew around the monk, transforming into a dignified woman. Gu Qingshan silently sensed the familiar power in the void of space, then clasped her fist and bowed. "Lady Fusey, I didn't think I would be able to see you here. The awaitings of the Order faction, the controller of time, the undying sand, the Lady of Legends, the Queen of Elemental Fairies, the Fairy of Time whose real name was Fusey." She looked at Gu Qingshan and smiled. "During the war between the Wraith Realm and the Eternal Abyss, I once peeked into the Wraith realm through the River of Time, but there was a unique barrier in their world that even I couldn't see clearly. However, I inadvertently discovered this cultivator in a certain corner of the River of Time. He has the talent of time, an extremely rare talent. And now, he is my successor, as well as a new force on our side. You can trust him, Gu Qing-shan replied. Very well, I understand, Fusey continued. The awaitings are about to awaken. I must stay here and protect them. The Wraith realm is very mysterious. Make sure to be careful. After saying so, she nodded to Gu Qing-shan, then turned into a sandstorm and disappeared. Gu Qing-shan turned to the monk again. So that's how it is. I was wondering why you carried a familiar power, but why exactly were you trapped here? His voice sounded a bit more intimate. Time is of the essence. I'll take you to Jasper Pool first. We'll talk later, the monk replied. Gu Qing-shan clasped her fist. Then, thank you very much. All of a sudden, the ground trembled intensely, as if some sort of immense power was shaking the entire Kunlun realm. The sky darkened. At the extreme north, a gigantic black shadow could be seen slowly appearing. It was a gigantic warship, completely black in color, with a green mask of a wraith hanging on the bow of the ship. The monk's gaze turned sharp and said, Not good. The wraiths have arrived. He formed a hand seal with both hands. The dust on the ground scattered, revealing a gigantic formation beneath the monk's feet. Countless golden runes circled around the monk. The immense pressure it exuded caused even Gu Qing-shan to feel a bit fearful. Time retreat, the monk lightly shouted. A golden streak of light shot out from his hand and shot straight to the sky. Instantly, the gigantic warship that was flying across the sky was struck by the golden streak of light and disappeared without a trace. After unleashing this golden streak of light, the formation around the monk instantly collapsed. But destroying the enemy in a single strike was too powerful. You directly destroyed that warship? Gu Qing-shan couldn't help but ask. The monk wiped the sweat off his forehead and replied, That's not the case. Thanks to the formation left behind by the heavenly beings, my time technique was strengthened several times over, allowing me to send that warship back to 15 minutes ago. After another 15 minutes, the wraiths would be able to reach Kunlun realm again. Gu Qing-shan's heart skipped a beat. A time technique. This monk's thaumaturgy is actually related to time, as expected of Lady Fusey's successor. He probably knows the entire Kunlun realm like the back of his hand. Fortunately, he's on my side. The monk looked at Gu Qing-shan again and urged her, Quickly, benefactor, take out your sturdiest weapon and fly to the top of the temple. I will send you directly to the heavenly palace. Very well. Then thank you. Gu Qing-shan took out the Six Paths great mountain sword, flew to the top of the temple, and looked down. I'm here. May I ask how fellow Tao Seeker will send me to Ascension? Gu Qing-shan asked. At the very next moment, the monk took out a gigantic hammer of ancient design from the void of space. As soon as the hammer appeared, the monk's body sunk a few inches into the ground, showing just how heavy this hammer was. Strands of heavenly light and spirit energy drifted around the long hammer. Is this your weapon? Gu Qing-shan asked. Indeed, the heavenly beings specially forged this weapon for me. It has the power to pierce through all barriers, the monk replied. Have you tested it? Gu Qing-shan asked. Of course, the monk smiled warmly and said, The 81 checkpoints are too complicated. We won't be able to go through them in time. With the power of this hammer in my hand, I'll be able to send you up, but you must use your weapon to block it. Block it? Gu Qing-shan had a bad feeling. The monk raised the hammer and shouted, Amit ba go. In that split second, Gu Qing-shan understood what the other party was planning. His pupils contracted as he shouted, Monk, wait! But there was no time. Although the hammer was heavy, the monk's attack wasn't affected at all and was almost as fast as it could be. The giant hammer left an afterimage in the air as it smashed towards Gu Qing-shan with overwhelming momentum. Gu Qing-shan raised his sword in front of himself to block. Boom! A resounding explosion resounded throughout the entire palace. Gu Qing-shan was sent flying by the hammer, quickly turned into a small black dot in the sky, broke through the layers of invisible light, and flew up into the sky. He had ascended. Gu Shan flew through the clouds and continued to fly upwards. Numerous barriers appeared from the void of space, but none of them could stop Gu Shan. He quickly went through all the barriers and arrived at a layer of space that was glowing with runes. This was the Ascension Warp. It was impossible to enter Jasper Lake by flying alone. Although the Heavenly Palace could be seen from the ground, it was actually located in another space. Gu Shan formed a hand seal to stabilize himself. As soon as he stopped, the runes all flew towards him and slowly circled around him. A second later, Gu Shan's figure disappeared from the sky. In the temple, the monk used his hand to cover his face as he looked through the broken roof towards the sky with a sorrowful expression. Ba, that was quite a good strike. A small rune formation suddenly appeared and wrapped around the monk's body. A second later, the monk also disappeared from the palace. Miao Shu House. Chapter 1476. A Flash of Light. Gu Shan appeared in front of a group of grand palaces. He wasn't in a hurry to look at the rows of palaces and asked, "Shanu, are you all right?" Shanu's voice came from the sword. "I don't feel much. Did Gongzi forget? The Six Paths Great Mountain Sword has the power of invincible." Gu Shan sighed in relief. As long as Shanu is fine. When a monk attacked just now, he had a chance to dodge, but at the very last moment, he noticed that the monk's attack didn't contain any killing intent, and the way he used it was also very ingenious. Because of his trust in Lady Time, Gu Shan decided to block the attack and see the result. And he actually ascended. Gu Shan put his sword away and looked around. The entire heavenly palace was silent without a single person in sight. He could clearly see a lot of heavenly beings walking around from the ground, but when he actually ascended, there was nothing at all. What exactly is going on here? Gu Shan released his inner sight and scanned his surroundings. No one. No one. No one. Still no one. The palaces were also completely empty, without a single person in sight. But in the void of space below the palaces, there were numerous illusionary images of heavenly beings coming and going. So, it was just a ruse, Gu Shan muttered. All of a sudden, a circle of warp runes appeared from the void of space. As the runes faded, a figure appeared not too far away from Gu Shan. The monk also came up. "You were clearly imprisoned in the temple. How did you get up here?" Gu Shan asked. The monk smiled. "There was a warp formation, then why didn't you send me up?" Gu Shan asked. The monk spoke with a serious expression. Ba, benefactors should personally experience the hardships of ascension in order to understand how difficult it is to become a cultivator. As the ancients say, the most important thing is the process. This humble monk wants benefactor to experience this very precious process. Gu Shan looked at the monk and said nothing. If this person wasn't the disciple of the Lady of Time, he would definitely let him experience the feeling of falling from the celestial realm to the Yellow Springs. The monk saw that his expression was not right, so he put his palms together and said, "Benefactor, Kunlun is actually the human realm, and Jasper Lake is the heaven realm. You can only walk freely here after you have ascended." As he spoke, Gu Shan felt as though she had melted into hot water. It was as if these palaces had accepted his arrival. That was the truth. Gu Shan smiled and said, "I thought you enjoyed the process of hammering me. Are you here for something?" The monk said seriously, "In the past, the immortals predicted that one day in the future, the evil spirits would come and destroy the Kunlun realm again. So they made preparations in advance." Gu Shan muttered. "You mean," the monk replied, "I'm trapped inside the formation, so when you and the wraiths appear, the formation will activate all of its power to help me slightly stop the wraiths, buying time for the entire world to escape. At the same time, I'll also regain my freedom." Gu Shan asked, "What about the immortals?" "They've all died in battle," the monk replied. Gu Shan's heart sank. If even the immortals couldn't win against the wraiths, doesn't that mean that within the samsara, even the heaven realm couldn't stop the wraith realm? With that in mind, Gu Shan couldn't help but ask, were the wraiths that powerful? How exactly were they strong? The monk appeared sorrowful and replied, in truth, the truly powerful ones were a type of apocalypse, the great flood? Gu Shan asked. Indeed, the monk replied. Even the immortals couldn't win against the great flood? Gu Shan asked further. The monk shook his head with a confused expression. During the final moments, the immortals of Jasper Lake were about to win against the great flood, but the situation suddenly took a turn for the worse. They sealed me and the entire Kunlun realm away, saying that they wanted to preserve humanity's kindling. Gu Shan went silent. The immortals were about to win against the great flood, but they suddenly decided to seal Kunlun realm. They must have run into something even more troublesome. How many more tricks did the wraiths have up their sleeves? Gu Shan sighed and asked, didn't you wield the power of time? Were you also sealed away? The monk replied, although I've grasped a bit of the power of time, I haven't been cultivating for a very long time, so my strength is limited. The immortals felt that if I participated in the war with my current strength, I would only die, so they decided to hide me away and preserve my life for the future. The black thread on Gu Shan's hand twitched a bit. The pursuers were approaching them at an even faster pace. The monk also seemed to have sensed something and whispered, come with me. He leapt forward and flew towards the depths of the countless palaces. Gu Shan hurriedly followed. The two of them continued to fly towards the depths of the sky, one in front and one behind. Gu Shan observed the monk and asked, Monk, have you been trapped here for so many years? The monk clasped his palms together and smiled. Umitba, benefactor, please do not call me a monk. In truth, I am just a normal cultivator. It's just that I've always wanted to pursue the path of Buddhism. That's why I'm dressed as a Buddhist, Gu Shan commented. So you're a fake monk, the monk replied. That's not it. This little monk has always wanted to pursue the path of Buddhism. If you're not a monk, why do you call yourself little monk? Gu Shan curiously asked. Umitba, this humble one's surname is Zhao. First name is Shao Sung, the monk replied. Gu Shan opened her mouth, but couldn't say anything. This child's father sure knows how to pick names. What's going on with your monk robe? Gu Shan asked. Shao Sung replied. The big shot said that I'm fated with Buddha, and that I'll become a Buddhist in the future. So they prepared this robe for me, then have you actually shaved your head or not? Gu Shan asked. I haven't. This little monk is an admirer of Buddhism. So after this little monk's preparations are almost complete, I'll shave my head and become a monk, Shao Sung replied. When will that be? My initial plan is to wait until all the apocalypses are over, then you should keep your hair for now. While talking, the two of them quickly went past the many palaces and reached the tallest palace. Gu Shan took a closer look, only to see the words written on the plaque outside the palace. Songhai Heavenly Palace. Shao Sung led the way into the palace. Gu Shan followed behind and asked, what is this palace used for? Shao Sung replied, Kunlun City is the human realm, while Jasper Pool is the heaven realm. The power of both worlds, combined with the cultivation of countless heavenly beings, as well as innumerable laws, with me as the core, I've trapped the entirety of Kunlun City within a single day. This is the reason why the wraiths have never dared to enter Kunlun City. Any wraiths that enter would end up like Gu Shan, trapped within a single day. Gu Shan thought for a bit, then said, that can't be right. The wraiths should have a way to dispel this technique. After all, they used the Great Flood or something else to defeat the heavenly beings of Jasper Pool. Shao Sung replied. The wraiths do have a few secret methods, but would definitely consume a large amount of resources and effort. But they've been constantly fighting all over the place, so they couldn't afford that kind of expenditure until I arrived, Gu Shan replied. Indeed, when the heavenly beings predicted that you would arrive, the wraiths would have already almost finished what they wanted to do, so they would invade Kunlun without any qualms and destroy this place. He led Gu Shan into the palace, all the way to the deepest part of the palace. There was nothing here, only a single mural engraved on the wall. On the boundless ocean, a large ship was floating on the water, moving forward. Countless heavenly beings and cultivators were either standing on the ship or hovering in the air, all of them wielding weapons to fight against the innumerable monsters in the ocean. The monk walked forward and whispered, "After struggling at death's door for so long, we finally couldn't hide any longer. We must take Kunlun with us." He swung his sleeves, pointed at the ship, then quickly formed several dozen hand seals. "Activate!" the monk shouted. Instantly, everything disappeared. Gu Shan found himself standing in the middle of an abandoned life talisman tunnel. In front of this vast and silent tunnel, both he and the monk felt like tiny floating objects in the depths of the ocean. There was nothing around them. The life talismans that formed the tunnel had also lost their glow, as if they were dead. "Where's Kunlun?" Gu Shan couldn't help but ask. Zhao Xiaosong opened his palm, only to see a glittering golden ship in his palm, exactly the same as the mural in the heavenly palace from before. In the past, the heavenly beings refined the two worlds into a heavenly ship of the ocean. The upper half of the ship was Jasper Pool Heavenly Palace, while the lower half was Kunlun City, which could be taken away at any time. "We need to quickly leave," Zhao Xiaosong said. "Where to?" Gu Shan asked. Zhao Xiaosong looked at him and replied, "That's a question I should be asking you." At the time, the heavenly beings expended a huge amount of vitality and immortal craft to calculate a single thing. An outsider is the key to the entire Kunlun realm's escape. Gu Shan was a bit surprised. "Me? I've never been to the Wraith realm, nor have I ever seen such a life talisman tunnel. How am I supposed to take you and the entire Kunlun realm with me?" A second later, Gu Shan's mind flickered and he abruptly raised his left hand. Other than the thread that was pointing at the pursuers, a new thread appeared on his arm. Fate ability, longing. This ability had activated by itself. The new black thread was connected to Gu Shan's arm, while the other end was connected to the dark and seemingly endless tunnel. Chapter 1477. The tunnel was so deep that there was no end in sight. Even though his pursuers were about to catch up, Gu Shan wasn't in a hurry to escape. He took a deep breath to calm himself down. Looking at the dim life talismans, Gu Shan felt that there must be some sort of secret hidden within. For some reason, he suddenly recalled the past. He had been to many different worlds, seen order and chaos, traveled through the age of old, but he had never seen such a grand and vast talisman tunnel before. "Xiaosong, do you know what's going on with this tunnel?" Gu Shan asked. Zhao Xiaosong clasped his hands. "Ba, this little monk still doesn't know Benefactor's name. I'm Gu Shan, Benefactor Gu. I've been sealed in Kunlun this entire time, so I don't know about the situation outside. The tunnel and the matter of escaping will all depend on you." "Very well." Gu Shan flew to the edge of the tunnel and carefully observed the life talismans. At this point, the life talismans had all turned a deathly gray, almost like burnt paper that had been turned to ash without scattering. "They've all lost their effects," Gu Shan muttered. Near the Wraith realm, the power of these life talismans was very strong. Anyone who tried to touch them would be erased by the power of the countless life talismans. But this place was too far away from the Wraiths, so the talismans had also lost their power. Gu Shan didn't want to risk himself, so he stood far away and glanced at the numerous life talismans in front of him. Invisible mind swords flew through the air, slicing through a large number of life talismans and reducing them to ash. Sha sha sha. As the talismans scattered, a faint, almost transparent wall appeared in front of Gu Shan. An ocean? Gu Shan looked at the shadows of fishes swimming outside the wall and wondered. The Wraiths used life talismans to block the wall, but there was an ocean outside? Vigilantly, he slowly moved forward and reached out to touch the wall. A line of glowing text appeared on the war god UI, frowny face, discovered reality wall. Reading this, Gu Shan fell into thought. "Benefactor Gu, that ocean is indeed strange, but we need to quickly leave," Zhao Xiaosong said. "Yes." Gu Shan responded with a slight reluctance in her heart. This wall was actually made of the world wall. I was clearly transported to the Wraith realm, but after using a life talisman to escape, I ended up entering Kunlun, then reappeared in the tunnel. This time, I found that the walls of the tunnel were created from the reality wall, while the outside was an ocean. So what was going on? Zhao Xiao sung. Can you stop the wraiths for another 15 minutes? Gu Shan asked. Zhao Xiao sung shook his head. I relied on the power of the formation before, but now that the formation has been completely destroyed, I can't stop so many enemies by myself. Gu Shan showed a regretful expression. The evil spirits were catching up from behind, but they couldn't continue to explore the walls of the tunnel. He looked at the black thread in his hand and said, "All right, we will continue along the tunnel. But this tunnel seems to have some sort of power that's restraining us here," Zhao Xiaosong said. "Don't worry." Gu Shan raised her hand and quickly drew talismans in the air. 5 talismans appeared in quick succession, circling around the 2 of them. The Wraith's teleportation talismans. Under the guidance of these talismans, the 2 of them flashed and flew towards the depths of the tunnel at full speed. Gu Shan didn't give up. Her gaze constantly scanned through the walls of the tunnel and cut apart all the life talismans that covered the walls of the tunnel. At first, after the life talismans scattered, it was still an ocean. But as Gu Shan and Zhao Xiaosong continued to move forward, the ocean abruptly disappeared, replaced by a ruined world outside the tunnel. The entire world was in ruins. Only a few small animals were moving through the ruins in search of food. As the 2 of them moved forward, different scenes of destruction appeared outside the reality wall. Sometimes it was a sea of flames that never went out. Sometimes it was filled with poisonous fog. Sometimes it was nothing but nothingness outside the reality wall. As Gu Shan and Zhao Xiaosong continued to fly forward, the various apocalypses flashed past their eyes. Finally, when Gu Shan used the mind sword to cut open the life talisman again, he saw a different scene. A giant with an indomitable spirit was staggering on the dry land. It was the only living entity in the entire world. Where did it come from? Why did it stop here? Gu Shan couldn't stop, otherwise he would definitely try to get in contact with this giant. Through his spirit sense, his pursuers were getting closer and closer. At this point, a fork in the road appeared in front of them. The tunnel split into 3 paths in front of Gu Shan, one leading downwards, one forward, and one left. "Benefactor Gu, which way are we going?" Zhao Xiaosong asked. Gu Shan looked down and saw the black thread in her hand heading straight towards the left path. This way, Gu Shan took the left path. Zhao Xiaosong followed, right behind her. As the 2 of them moved forward a bit, Gu Shan couldn't help but scan the wall with her eye of the sword. The abandoned life talismans had turned to dust, revealing the transparent reality wall. On the other side of the wall was a structure that was overgrown with weeds. Vines were crawling all over the train tracks. A train had collapsed outside the tracks, now in tatters. There was no one on the platform, only a few skeletons. Gu Shan was confused, but had no choice but to continue flying forward. The 2 of them continued flying forward, avoiding the wraith's pursuit as quickly as they could. All of a sudden, the 5 life talismans went out. The 2 of them immediately hovered in the air, no longer moving forward. Gu Shan reached her hand out to draw 5 more life talismans in the void of space. The life talismans began to glow, circling around the 2 of them, but the 2 of them remained where they were, no longer moving forward. Gu Shan looked around, only to see that there were no longer any life talismans left on the walls of this tunnel. The reality wall was right in front of them. On the other side of the wall, Gu Shan could see endless darkness. Occasionally, a glowing insect would fly out from the depths of the darkness, bypassing their line of sight and continuing upwards. Gu Shan gave a try. At this point, the spatial obstruction in the tunnel had already disappeared, so she could fly freely without the need of life talismans. "Seems like this place is no longer under the wraith's control," Gu Shan commented. "Indeed, but Benefactor Gu, look ahead." Zhao Xiaosong pointed at the depths of the tunnel and whispered. "I can see it," Gu Shan also whispered. At the end of the tunnel was an unimaginably large balcony. This balcony was made entirely out of bones, perfectly positioned at the end of the tunnel. From the looks of it, the balcony seemed to have been specifically placed at the end of the tunnel to receive certain entities that arrived here. Gu Qingshan and Zhao Xiaosong flew forward, landed on the balcony, and carefully observed it. Ahead of them was nothing but endless darkness, with no end in sight, only endless bones that were piled up from the depths of the darkness to form this balcony. At the very top of the balcony, a single crystalline bone stood upright, almost like a scepter. "Benefactor Gu, what do we do now?" Zhao Xiaosong asked. Gu Qingshan looked down. The thread in his hand that represented the pursuers had abruptly snapped, while the thread that represented the thing he was searching for was still reaching into the darkness ahead. How strange. The wraiths stopped chasing after us at this point? Gu Qingshan carefully pondered the implications of this. He walked to the highest point of the balcony and placed his hand on the crystalline bone. A line of glowing text appeared on the war god UI, frowny face, secret summoning staff. Contains summoning incantation. With my body cast towards the end of destruction, witness the return of the Samsara. Attention. This is a ceremonial staff used purely to summon certain entities. Its only use is to summon. Gu Qingshan held the bone scepter in his hand, silently weighing his options. "Benefactor Gu, what do we do now?" Zhao Xiaosong asked. Gu Qingshan regained his senses and sighed. He suddenly chuckled and said, "Ever since we entered the tunnel, we've only seen strange and bizarre things, but we don't actually know anything at all. To escape this state of ignorance, I might have to throw away all of my worries and do something that I don't know what the outcome will be. Ba. How romantic." Zhao Xiaosong clasped his hands together. "You're not afraid of death." "I am, but Buddha had said that life is a journey, and a man must always do something risky." Gu Qingshan was surprised. Buddha actually said something like that. Zhao Xiaosong clasped his hands together. "Not before, but after I become a Buddha, I'll say it." Good. Gu Qingshan silently felt a bit of admiration and praised him. Since Zhao Xiaosong had no objections, he raised the bone scepter and loudly chanted, "With my body cast towards the end of destruction, witness the return of the Samsara." From the faraway darkness, two clusters of pale green light abruptly manifested. Although these two clusters of green light were quite far away, they were about the size of a millstone, giving off intense green light from afar, illuminating both Gu Qingshan and Zhao Xiaosong. Following that, a wraith's face slowly manifested. So the two clusters of green light were its eyes. If its eyes were already this big, then this wraith's body must have grown to an unimaginable size. It furiously roared. "Who is it? Even at this critical moment, it still summons me." Dong, dong, dong. The entire balcony, as well as the tunnel itself, shook. Gu Qingshan and Zhao Xiaosong froze in place, watching as the wraith slowly walked towards the balcony. "It sounds like it's very unhappy." Zhao Xiaosong cowered behind Gu Qingshan and commented, "That's right. It seems to be looking for trouble." Gu Qingshan drew her sword and replied. He then recalled something and asked in a low voice, "Do you still think it's romantic?" Zhao Xiaosong took a deep breath and clasped his hands together. Ba. This kind of romance is a bit too much for me." Chapter 1478. The wraith stood in the darkness, crouched down, and looked at Gu Qingshan and Zhao Xiaosong. Its entire body was enveloped in black fog. Only its head was exposed. A pair of glowing green eyes stared straight at Gu Qingshan, staring straight at him. "Such clear fluctuations. I can sense the power of life talismans from your body." Another wraith who wants to participate in the Samsara clash for supremacy. "Did you avoid the stronger ones and risk your life to come here, hoping for me to grant you the chosen same position?" Under normal circumstances, when faced with this kind of question, a person would most likely continue talking, hoping to gain more time to talk and understand the situation. Gu Qingshan didn't say anything and silently held the black thread in his hand. One end of this black thread was connected to him, while the other end was connected to the wraith's body. A faint sensation came from the thread into Gu Qingshan's mind. Through the mysterious sensation that the thread gave off, he could sense the other party's anger and killing intent. Anger. There are countless explanations. There is only one kind of killing intent. Of course, Gu Qingshan understood this subtlety. At this moment, he was thinking who knows how many times. At the same time, he also gained a deeper understanding of the fate ability, longing. I don't know this monster. I don't have any information. But that doesn't matter. I can directly sense the other party's attitude and emotions. A fate ability truly is a powerful ability made to save the day. That's not it, Gu Qingshan casually replied. I'm not a wraith. I'm a Lord of War of Huangquan. I came here to get rid of the wraiths, but accidentally awakened you. The wraith's head retreated a bit, then abruptly came closer. Its glowing green eyes opened even wider. Huangquan? You said you're a member of Huangquan? It roared, full of surprise. The killing intent from the wraith on the black thread faded a bit. Very well, it seems my guess was correct. This monster might be an entity that gave the wraith something, but for some reason, it's now filled with killing intent towards the wraiths. I really did come from Huangquan, Gu Qingshan replied. He took out the Devil King Warden Rod, held it in his hand, and circulated his power. The power of the yellow springs enveloped his body, illuminating the darkness around him. The wraith continued. How strange, how strange. You're clearly the chosen one of Huangquan, yet you've come to the wraith realm and summoned me. What exactly are you planning to do? Impatience and anticipation could be sensed from the black thread. Gu Qingshan felt it. After a moment of silence, thousands of thoughts flashed through his mind before he finally spoke. The six-path tournament for supremacy is about to begin. I'm here to learn about my opponents. The ghost suddenly threw its head back and laughed. Aha! What a great Huangquan warlord. So you wanted to defeat the Wraith Realm's Saint Chosen before the Samsara clash for supremacy begins. What a great idea. It stopped laughing and spoke with a mocking tone. Unfortunately, the Wraiths have even gained control over the Great Flood. They've also chosen 3 Wraith Saint Chosen, each with their own titles. Fate Obstruction Wraith, Giant Frame Wraith, and Karmic Fire Wraith Young One from Huangquan. Although you're a Star River Saint, you're only one person, unable to fight against 3 Wraith Saint Chosen at the same time, and definitely unable to fight against the Great Flood. Even if I gave you the Saint Chosen identity, it would still be futile. Go back saying so. It shook its head, turned around, and went back into the darkness. The black thread lightly trembled. Gu Qingshan immediately sensed the other party's regret and disappointment. Following that, the black thread broke. This meant that the other party had given up on trying to communicate with him, as well as not wanting to have anything to do with him. Recalling the other party's words, Gu Qingshan had many thoughts running through his mind. This wraith was able to give me the Wraith Saint Chosen identity. If that's the case, it really is similar to the one-horned wraith that gave me the Huangquan Saint Chosen identity. Perhaps they're the same type of entity. But that wraith felt that I couldn't fight against the Great Flood, nor the wraith, so it left in disappointment. What should I do now? If I miss this chance, I might not be able to see this entity ever again. From its words, I can easily tell that it has a certain level of influence over the Wraith realm. Even if it can't make me a Wraith Saint Chosen, it should still be able to help me in other aspects. I definitely can't miss it. At this moment, countless scenes of the past flashed through Gu Qingshan's mind. The Great Flood, an unlivable apocalypse. How exactly can I win against the Great Flood? The big shots of Void City couldn't even resist the slightest omen of this apocalypse. I wouldn't be able to stop this apocalypse either. No, for the current me, the Great Flood is true despair, an insurmountable obstacle. Gu Qingshan's heart sank. In the darkness, the wraith slowly moved away, about to disappear from Gu Qingshan's sight. Gu Qingshan forced herself to calm down and continue to ponder. There's no way to fight against the Great Flood. What other way is there to make this wraith stay? All of a sudden, Gu Qingshan recalled what the one-horned demon said when she faced the Star River tribulation. So you were the Devil King of Huangquan, Lord of the Samsara Divine Mountain. For you to be able to inherit ethereal. You must have gone through countless hardships and battles. The identity you possess, as well as the things you've accomplished, are truly rare in this world. Seems like the saint selection of the Huang Quan realm can end now. A thought suddenly appeared in Gu Qingshan's mind. He roared into the depths of the darkness. Your Excellency, I can definitely kill all of those wraiths. None of them are a match for me. Even the Great Flood cannot compare to the power I have. Gu Qingshan circulated all of her Huang Quan origin power, abruptly swung her fist, and struck 4 times in a row in the void of space. All 4 strikes struck nothing but air, but each of them exuded a different kind of power. Grand Mountain, no mercy, myriad shadows, null tribulation. The first 3 strikes were fine, but Gu Qingshan wasn't able to unleash this null tribulation strike. Even if it was only a demonstration, even if it was a casual strike, this strike had already surpassed his abilities. As soon as he raised his fist, this strike drained all of his Huang Quan origin power. Supernatural phenomena abruptly appeared. The world of darkness receded, turning into innumerable lines and sprites of light in front of Gu Qingshan's eyes. All forms had disappeared. All living beings, all appearances no longer existed. As far as Gu Qingshan's eyes could see, there were only the laws, as well as the origin power that made up everything. A split second later, everything returned to normal. Gu Qingshan's legs went limp as she collapsed to the ground, breathing heavily. Her stamina and Huang Quan origin power were all expended. Originally, Huang Quan origin power was a type of samsara power that could trigger null tribulation, but due to Gu Qingshan's current strength, this strike was only the beginning. How was it? The black thread suddenly appeared again. One end coiled around Gu Qingshan's hand while the other flew into the darkness of the void. Gu Qingshan looked into the darkness. The pair of glowing green eyes appeared again. The ghostly being leapt through the distance and appeared in front of Gu Qingshan. So you're the inheritor of ethereal. I really couldn't imagine that someone of your level of strength would be able to obtain ethereal, completely surpassing my expectations. The ghostly being evaluated him. I couldn't either. I only killed a monster, Gu Qingshan admitted. What kind of monster was it? The ghostly being asked with interest. Gu Qingshan then described it. No, even 10,000 of you wouldn't be able to kill it, the ghostly being resolutely replied. Gu Qingshan had no choice but to explain the entire process. The ghostly being looked at him, speechless. A tiny speck of light was able to destroy the blazing sun in the sky. No wonder it sighed emotionally. Gu Qingshan tried asking, Your Excellency, you seem to understand ethereal quite well. Ethereal is a fist technique specifically passed down from the samsara. Every samsara divinity can use ethereal to recreate the samsara's painful past. The ghostly being appeared nostalgic and replied, Your Excellency, between this technique and Great Flood, which one do you think is stronger? Gu Qingshan asked. The ghostly being regained his senses and looked at him. Of course, null tribulation is stronger. It's the power that destroyed the Grand Tai Wei Mountain. If that's the case, your deific authority is the Samsara Mountain God, because only the Grand Tai Wei Mountain has recorded the power of null tribulation. This was done in preparation for the future evolution of the samsara. Since I have a chance to win against those wraiths, please grant me the title of Wraith Saint Chosen Gu. Qingshan sincerely said. The ghostly being's eyes suddenly glowed with an even brighter light and spoke solemnly. Cultivator, I want to see your 6 paths great mountain sword. Gu Qingshan waved his hand to the void of space. An autumn water, clear blue sword appeared out of nowhere and hovered next to him. The ghostly being stared at the 6 paths great mountain sword for a while, then suddenly spoke with a sobbing tone. How wonderful! Even though I've forgotten everything, I still haven't lost my spirituality, still as glorious as before. The black fog around his body completely scattered, revealing a horrifying body full of wounds. Over half of this ghostly being's body was already gone. The only thing that remained was a skeleton and bits of flesh. From the looks of it, it had participated in a terrible battle. The final bit of power will help you gather the power of Saint Chosen. But this power will be temporarily hidden. Otherwise, it will draw the attention of the other Wraith Saint chosen, a Yiksha mask, descended from the darkness, silently hovering in front of Gu Qingshan. The ghostly being's eyes became dim. His entire body turned to ash and disappeared into the endless darkness of the void. All power has been used up. I will completely disappear. The rest is up to you. Of course, there's also this sword of yours. Make sure to treat her well, the ghostly being said. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask, "You recognize the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword? Why did you recognize me as soon as you saw the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword?" The ghostly being chuckled in the end. Everything about him faded away with the wind, leaving only his final words. "You must be a true sword cultivator to be recognized by this sword, that's enough." Chapter 1479. The ghostly creature scattered. Only a Yiksha mask remained, hovering in front of Gu Qingshan. This mask contained the last of the ghostly creature's power, completely different from any other Yiksha mask that Gu Qingshan had ever seen. It wasn't hideous. The pure white mask only had a pair of slender eyes drawn out by a shadow. Other than that, there was nothing else. If one took a closer look, they would notice that the two shadows that formed the eyes were one red and one black, seemingly not moving at all, giving off a sense of spirituality. Lines of glowing text quickly appeared on the war god UI. Frowny face. This is a unique Yiksha mask, one that had never appeared in the annals of history before. Samsara Wicked Mask. Jade Tree. This mask can unleash the Wraith Realm divine skill. Jade Tree Deep Shadow. Unique. Jade Tree Deep Shadow. Jade Tree. You can immediately select a certain treasure and allow the mask to obtain that treasure's ability, turning it into a guy's hex and storing it on the mask, ready to be used at any time. Deep Shadow. The ability you obtain will automatically increase by 1 level, eternally stronger than the original treasure, but this will be hidden and will not be displayed on the mask. Furthermore, when wearing this Yiksha mask, your power will become the type of ability you select. Others will not be able to see through your foundation. Attention! The guy's hex must be activated using the power of the Samsara or 2 origin powers. For example, your Huang Quan origin power and origin power of the soul. The guy's hex technique is guaranteed to hit. Special reminder: this mask is imbued with a one-time consumable technique. Fixed teleportation. It will activate in 10 breaths worth of time. Please wear the mask and prepare yourself. Fixed teleportation. Gu Qingshan pondered these words. Why is it a fixed teleportation and not a fixed teleportation? Since there wasn't much time, Gu Qingshan didn't have much time to think and asked, "Xiao Sung, we're about to be teleported away. Can you hide on the Songhai heavenly ship for now? Where will we be teleported to?" Xiao Sung asked. "I don't know either. I have no idea what kind of place it will be. I'm afraid it will be the same as just now. The type of adventure and romance that you like," Gu Qingshan replied. Xiao Sung said nothing. He took out the glittering golden Songhai heavenly ship and placed it in the void of space, then silently formed a hand seal. In an instant, he disappeared. The vast seafaring ship flew steadily into Gu Qingshan's hand. Xiao Sung's voice came from the heavenly vessel. "Almsgiver Gu, enjoy your romance first. Please let me out when it's safe." Umitba. Gu Qingshan looked at the immortal ship in her hand speechlessly. There was not much time left. He put away the immortal ship and put on the Jade Tree mask. After 2 breaths of silence, the mask suddenly emitted a fluctuation of teleportation. Gu Qingshan instantly disappeared. After he left, the entire platform began to collapse, and soon, it completely disappeared into the endless darkness. The world was spinning. Gu Qingshan suddenly found herself standing on solid ground. The surroundings were dark, and there was only a thin layer of light. There were several rotting corpses on the ground. No one knew how long they had been dead, but no one cared about them. All kinds of tools were scattered on the ground. There was a hoe, a wicker basket, a wheelbarrow, a cloth bag, and a small box with a talisman on it. A cold breeze blew from the depths of the cave, mixed with the sound of metal hitting stone. Gu Qingshan only managed to get a glimpse of the situation. At the very next moment, the sharp sound of something breaking through the air resounded from behind her. An ambush! A sharp sensation of being stabbed could be felt. The other party had decided to go all out this time, intending to take her life in one strike. Gu Qingshan had already been cautious, so she drew the earth sword without hesitation and swung it in the air. A cold sword phantom flashed through the darkness. Bam! The ambusher was sent flying, crashing into a rock wall, no longer breathing. Gu Qingshan wielded her sword and slowly stepped forward. This was a wraith cultivator with tattered clothes, struck by Gu Qingshan's life seeker from afar. The Yiksha mask on his face had fallen off, revealing a ferocious expression full of killing intent on his face. He was already dead. His weapon was a hoe, which was also cut in half by Gu Qingshan's slash. It was sent flying, crashing into a rock wall, and then fell to the ground. Strange. Why did he want to kill me? Gu Qingshan muttered. He released his inner sight, passing through the mines, tunnels, and caves to observe the situation underground for several hundred miles. As far as his inner sight could see, corpses littered the ground. Quite a few cultivators who were still alive were avoiding the crowd, specifically hiding in the most secluded tunnels. They cautiously guarded their wicker baskets, which were full of ores. Are these people fighting for ores? They aren't particularly strong, so they were sent here to mine ores. Among the entire Wraith realm, they should be at the lowest level. The lowest level, what an unassuming beginning. No wonder that Wraith teleported me here. Gu Qingshan retracted his inner sight and focused on the corpse in front of him again. All of a sudden, Gu Qingshan felt an indescribable fluctuation coming from his mask. Jade Tree had been activated. Gu Qingshan immediately sensed two things. A pickaxe. The Yiksha mask. They belonged to the cultivator who ambushed Gu Qingshan, the only items he had. Gu Qingshan sensed them and quickly understood the power contained in these two items. A pickaxe naturally had the ability to mine ores, nothing out of the ordinary. The Yiksha mask didn't have any special abilities, only a guy's hex that could assist in mining ores. Search for ores. By wearing this guy's hex mask, your ability to sense ores will increase. Gu Qingshan's mind quickly moved, recalled everything that happened, and immediately chose this ability. I want this one, he silently said in his mind. Following his thought, a gray mist quickly flowed from his mask. Deep Shadow had been activated. Gu Qingshan's mask slowly gained runes, slowly becoming the same as the Yiksha mask on the ground. Since they had the same guy's hex, the mask would naturally be the same. Very well, perhaps I really can. Gu Qingshan calmed himself down and glanced at the void of space. A few lines of glowing text appeared on the War God UI. Frowny face, your Jade Tree mask has gained the ability to search for ores mask. Due to the effects of Deep Shadow, this ability has been upgraded by 1 level. You've obtained an upgraded guy's hex to search for ores. Search for ores. By wearing this guy's hex mask, you will be able to directly sense the locations of various precious ores through the heterogeneous power of various ores. The lines of glowing text flashed before disappearing. Gu Qingshan released his inner sight to observe himself, only to find that his mask was still exactly the same as the one on the ground, not changing at all due to the guy's hex's upgrade. Gu Qingshan silently stood there for a long while before sighing and muttering to himself. At this point, I've finally truly entered the Wraith realm. He crouched down and placed his hand on the cultivator's corpse. Mystery of all beings equal, activate. Very quickly, he became exactly the same as the cultivator on the ground. The same face, the same physique, the same characteristics. An exact same Yiksha mask. Gu Qingshan put the corpse away, donned the tattered clothes, and put on the mask. So, I'm going to mine now. He carried the hoe, dragged the basket, and headed deeper into the tunnel. Chapter 1480. Deep inside the mine, a secluded tunnel. Gu Qingshan crouched in a dark corner and drew the Chao-Yin sword. Chao-Yin, I want to try and see if I can borrow your power. If Jade Tree Deep Shadow can allow me to wield the power of a sword and increase it by another level, That would be unimaginable. Gu Shan circulated her Huang Quan origin power and infused it into the mask. The evil face of the six paths, named Jade Tree, gradually emitted a strange power. Suddenly, the Chaoyin sword let out a low, sobbing sound. "What's the matter?" Gu Shan asked in surprise. The Earth Sword's heavy voice suddenly resounded. "You can't, Gu Shan. That mask of yours can absorb our power, but this absorption is a form of great harm to us." Luo Bingli's voice also resounded. "If the Earth Sword and I had combined into that abyssal soul artifact, we would be able to resist this mask. But I'm currently in a separate state from the Earth Sword. If you use this mask on us, it will harm our very foundations from the perspective of laws." Gu Shan asked. "Shanu, what about you?" Shanu replied, "Gongzi, I'm not afraid of this mask. If you want to take the thaumaturgy from me, feel free to do so." Gu Shan was a bit surprised, then asked, "Then will you be harmed?" Shanu replied, "I won't, but I might have to fall into slumber for a very long time. How can I do that?" Gu Shan sighed and replied, "It seems the items of the Wraith Realm are always filled with a sense of evil. I can't simply use them." He gave up on his previous idea and walked into the mine until he reached the deepest part of the tunnel. "Xiao Sung, you can come out now." Gu Shan spoke in a low voice. Xiao Sung abruptly appeared. He quickly sensed the chaotic scene in the tunnel. The outside world was still in a state of chaos. The cultivators searching for ores were killing each other to steal the ores. The fluctuations of their spells could be felt even from afar. "Benefactor Gu, where are we? What's the situation with those wraith cultivators?" he asked. "We're inside a mine. It's very chaotic here. We need to temporarily hide," Gu Shan replied. Xiao Sung took a deep breath. The stench of blood in the air was getting stronger and stronger, and the screams were endless. People were dying all the time. Xiao Sung couldn't hold it in any longer. His face showed a compassionate expression as he put his palms together. "May these people be received after death." "Namo Ksidagarba Bodhisattva," Gu Shan whispered. "Someone is coming." At the same time, both of them retracted their energy fluctuations. Suddenly, the sound of hurried footsteps could be heard. A cultivator wearing a devil mask jumped out from the darkness of the mine. His clothes were stained with blood, and the pickaxe in his hand was still dripping with blood. When he saw Gu Shan, he laughed maniacally. "Ha ha ha, Fifth Chun, you coward! So you were hiding in the most secluded tunnel. Hand over the cloud pattern immortal jade, or you dug today, or I will kill you." Gu Shan's expression didn't change. She reached out her hand to grab the sword from the void. Xiao Sung pressed his hand down. "What is it?" Gu Shan casually asked, her tone carrying faint killing intent. Xiao Sung appeared sorrowful and muttered, "This person's killing intent is intense, but he is still alive. Benefactor Gu, why don't you give him so that he doesn't end up in Huang Quan after his death?" Gu Shan was a bit surprised, but her tone became gentle. "Fake monk, I didn't think you would have a bit of mercy." He pulled his hand back and kicked the basket away. Gu Shan isn't a bloodthirsty person, so since his companion had asked for it, he wouldn't do anything. Since Xiao Sung tried to stop me from killing, he must have a way to deal with this. The other cultivator caught the basket, looked down and muttered, "Indeed, we only discovered the cloud pattern immortal jade, or about half an hour ago. Being able to dig up these few pieces is already your limit." Saying so, his killing intent dissipated a bit. "Benefactor, please leave now that you've obtained the or," Xiao Sung said. As the cultivator was about to leave, he turned around to look at Xiao Sung. He looked at Gu Shan, then at Xiao Sung. His eyes moved a bit, then realized. "Fifth brother Chun, you are truly sly. You actually brought a helper into the mine." The cultivator didn't intend to leave, and instead took a few steps forward. "What now?" Gu Shan whispered to Xiao Sung. Xiao Sung smiled bitterly and clasped his palms together. "This person's greed and killing intent are both triggered. Let me talk to him and change him." Suddenly, his voice was cut off by the other side. The cultivator's tone carried killing intent as he shouted, "Monk, what did you dig up here?" Umaba, benefactor, don't be obsessed with mere ores and truth. Dash the cultivator cut him off again and cursed. Bald donkey, don't waste words with me. Hurry up and hand over the ores you're hiding. Zhao Xiao Sung went silent. A metal hammer suddenly appeared in his hand. The metal hammer moved like a flash of lightning. Boom! Intense wind blew, causing the ground to tremble. Blood filled the air. Bits and pieces of rock continuously fell down from above. Gu Qingshan silently stood on one side, waited for a few breaths worth of time, then walked forward and picked up the Yiksha mask to check. This cultivator's mask was the same as fifth brother Chun, used to search for ores. It seems that everyone in this mine was the same. There was no difference in status. He couldn't help but ask, Xiao Sung, didn't you want to have Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva receive them? Receiving them is the Bodhisattva's job. Sending them on their way is this little monk's job, Zhao Xiao Sung replied. Feeling that his words were a bit rude, Zhao Xiao Sung put the hammer away and awkwardly replied, Benefactor Gu, I'm not actually bald. It's just that my hair is a bit sparse, and due to my reverence for Buddhism, I specifically shaved my head. Gu Qingshan went silent. So that's why you acted. They only care about the ores. Who would care about your hair? You're being too sensitive. Gu Qingshan looked at the pile of flesh on the wall of the mine and sighed. I might as well wipe it clean with my sword. At least it wouldn't be as bloody as you are now. Ba. This little monk was indeed angry, but he dared to call me bald. This little monk can't forgive him. Zhao Xiao Sung, I think even after the apocalypse is over, you won't be able to shave your head. Gu Qingshan waved her hand to summon the basket back in front of him. Gu Qingshan took out a long piece of blue jade from the basket and said, It seems this riot was caused by the discovery of this, or called cloud pattern immortal jade. Zhao Xiao Sung replied, I know about this, or the amount of spirit energy it contains is 500 times that of spirit stone of the same size, a necessary currency for high-level cultivators. Gu Qingshan nodded. No wonder, it's so crazy. If it's such a valuable, or someone will most likely come to suppress this riot very soon. As the two of them were talking, a loud voice suddenly spread through the entire mine. All mining cultivators are stopped fighting and leave the mine within 30 breaths worth of time. Violators will be killed without mercy. Gu Qingshan glanced at Zhao Xiao Sung. Ba, Benefactor Gu, I'll leave the rest to you. If there are any problems with fighting or time, feel free to call me out to help, Zhao Xiao Sung said. I understand about fighting, but what do you mean by time? Gu Qingshan asked. Other than delivering living beings from suffering, if you say something wrong when you're dealing with those wraiths, Xiao Sung can use a temporal technique to help. Zhao Xiao Sung's figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. He seemed to have a special connection with the Songhai heavenly ship, allowing him to return to the artifact at any time. While the two of them were talking, a few breaths had already passed. Gu Qingshan hurriedly picked up her hoe, dragged her basket, and walked towards the exit of the mine in her tattered clothes. Chapter 1481. All the mining cultivators were escorted to the sandstone field outside of the mine, ordered not to move even a single inch, or they would be killed without question. The wraith cultivators took control of the entire mine, then began to investigate the situation of the riot in the mine. 15 minutes later, dark blue natural strips of, or with cloud patterns were neatly arranged on the ground. Cloud pattern immortal jade. Who would have thought there would be such a good thing underneath this poor mine? A dark-skinned wraith cultivator commented. He was wearing a crimson mask. Several black lines of different lengths were drawn on the mask to form an expression of anger and ferocity. Sir, the mine's manager has been brought here, someone reported. Ah! The wraith cultivator turned around and looked at the other side, only to see two guards escorting a short old man in front of him. The short old man knelt on the ground, trembling as he spoke. Sir Shui, it's not that this subordinate is incompetent. It's just that no one could have thought that cloud pattern immortal jade would be found here. The wraith who was addressed, as Sir Shui nodded. That is indeed the case. As soon as these mining cultivators saw cloud pattern immortal jade, they must have gone insane. He patted the short old man's shoulder and consoled him. I can understand your difficulties, the short old man sighed in relief, about to say something else, but his head was abruptly lifted up. Sir Shui grabbed his head with one hand, clenched his other hand into a fist, and punched his body. Puffed. The short old man's body was instantly smashed into a mist of blood, sent flying far away, then disintegrated in midair, turning into a mass of red and white matter that splashed onto the rocks of the mine. The wraith named Shui took off the short old man's Yikshan mask, tossed his head on the ground, then spoke with an expression of disgust. It's fine if you can't do it, but you still dare to find excuses. He gathered some water and washed his hands as if nothing happened. The entire area was silent. Those mining cultivators who were originally indignant finally did not dare to vent their emotions in a low voice. After a while, Sir Shui finally finished washing his hands, wiped them with a white handkerchief, then ordered, "Bring the leaders of the 5 mining teams here." Understood. The wraith cultivators rushed into the middle of the mining cultivators and pulled the 4 of them out. Gu Qingshan was surprised to find that she was also a team leader. Under the watchful eyes of a group of wraiths, he and 3 other mining cultivators were pushed in front of Lord Shui. An evil spirit reported, "Sir, the 4 of them have been brought here. The 5th captain is dead. His corpse has been smashed into meat paste and is still in the cave. Should we drag it out and examine it? If that captain is dead, then so be it. I'm not interested in seeing his corpse." "Yes." Lord Shui asked again. "What I'm concerned about is how many people died in the mine." 71 people. Please have a look." A jade strip was presented to Lord Shui. "So many people died, TSK." Lord Shui said unhappily. He took the jade slip and carefully read through it. Everyone waited quietly at the side. Gu Qingshan stole a glance, and suddenly discovered that a few thin red threads had emerged from Lord Shui's body and were connected to the bodies of the 4 team leaders on her side. These were the threads of fate. Only he could see them. Gu Qingshan quietly stretched out her finger and placed it on the thread to sense it. A sense of death could be felt from the thread. This person is about to kill the 4 mining cultivator team leaders in front of me. I'm also a team leader. What now? While Gu Qingshan was pondering, Lord Shui had already walked in front of them. Lord Shui looked at the 4 team leaders and asked, "Who is the first team leader?" "Old Zhao Jiao." "Me," a thin and tall cultivator said. "The first team's mining cultivators are all dead, but you're still alive." Lord Shui slowly spoke and gestured with his hand. Old Zhao Jiao was cleaved in half from afar and collapsed on the ground, dead on the spot. Lord Shui waved his hand to take his mask away, then coldly asked, "Who is the second team leader?" "Huang San." "Sir, it's me." Next to Gu Qingshan, another person spoke up. The cultivator was trembling as he looked at Lord Shui, one hand still clutching his stomach. Gu Qingshan glanced at him, only to see that Huang San had a sizable wound on his stomach that was still bleeding. Lord Shui's tone changed and said, "The second team's mining cultivators are still alive. You've done well." When Huang San heard this, he was overjoyed and said, "Darren, when the riot started, I ordered them to form a defensive formation and guard a narrow tunnel. I was also at the very front, and we were able to survive the entire riot." Lord Shui praised, "Courageous and resourceful, leading the charge. Very well done." He gestured. Before the joy on Huang San's face faded, his head was already separated from his body. The bleeding head rolled far away. Dead silence. The mining cultivators all looked up at Lord Shui with confused expressions. Lord Shui didn't seem to notice them at all, put Huang San's Yikshan mask away, and shook his head. "Your wounds are too severe, basically a cripple. The mines are busy every day. I can't afford to raise a cripple." He walked in front of Gu Qingshan. Sensing his killing intent, Gu Qingshan clasped her fist and bowed. "Greetings, sir. Are you the 3rd team's leader, Chun Wu?" Lord Shui lightly moved his finger and asked. "That is me, sir. The riot in the tunnel this time isn't anyone's fault. It was all my fault," Gu Qingshan replied. Lord Shui's finger stopped. "Your fault?" he asked. "That's right. Everything is my fault," Gu Qingshan replied. Lord Shui's crimson Yikshan mask didn't change at all. He stared straight at Gu Shan and asked, "This riot was caused by the accidental discovery of a cloud pattern immortal jade mine. What does that have to do with you?" Gu Shan sighed and replied, "I won't hide it from sir. I was actually the first person to discover the cloud pattern immortal jade mine, huh? Your luck seems to be quite good," Lord Shui replied without any emotions. Gu Shan replied, "It wasn't luck. I'll tell sir the truth. Half a month ago, I had already sensed something. I found myself able to sense the unique aura of various ores in the tunnel, but I didn't believe it at first, since my guy's hex was only to search for ores. It was only after a few days that I found out that this ability wasn't related to the guy's hex at all. It was an ability that I awakened myself," Lord Shui said. "Continue," Gu Shan continued. "After a period of comprehension and practice, I found that this ability of mine was getting stronger and stronger to the point where I could sense the location of various ores. And then I dug out the first piece of cloud pattern immortal jade, which led to this riot." Lord Shui fell silent. Unknowingly, he was clenching his fist tightly. The earth was the foundation of a world that carried the most world origin, nurturing countless precious and powerful ores. But the situation underground was chaotic, unable to be found with inner sight. They could only rely on digging. This person actually awakened the ability to search for ores? Lord Shui suddenly felt a bit worried, turned to the mining cultivators and shouted, "Is what he said the truth?" The mining cultivators all had blank expressions. Everyone only knew about the cloud pattern immortal jade mine. Who could remember what happened in the beginning? Not to mention, during the riot, those who dug out the mine at the very beginning were the main targets. Almost all of them were killed. Seeing how clueless everyone was, Lord Shui couldn't hold himself back anymore and grabbed Gu Shan's hand, shouting, "Men, lead the way. We're going into the mine." Gu Shan appeared fearful, trembling as she asked, "Sir, what are you trying to do?" Lord Shui's tone carried a bit of eagerness as he replied, "Don't be afraid. I'm only trying to verify what you said. Let's go." He gathered 2 rows of subordinates, grabbed Gu Shan, and hurriedly entered the mine. The corpses in the mine haven't been cleaned up yet. The ground was filled with blood and rubble. The smell was also unbearable. But no one noticed it at all as they went deeper into the mine. Lord Shui asked his subordinates, "How much cloud pattern immortal jade mine did we find this time?" "Sir, we found a total of 327 gene of cloud pattern immortal jade mine this time. All of it has been counted. Did you find anything else?" "None." "Good." Lord Shui turned to look at Gu Shan. "You're Chun fifth." "That's right, sir." Gu Shan nodded. This mine was originally a barren mine. If you really found a cloud pattern immortal jade mine, this Shui Nu wouldn't blame you. Instead, you've done a great service. Right now, you need to prove something, that you can truly find a treasure mine, Lord Shui said. He let go of Gu Shan's hand. Gu Shan walked out, stood in the middle of the mine, and silently activated Mind Search as advanced skill, or point. Out of nowhere, a sensation of heaven and earth appeared in his mind. Gu Shan found that he could clearly sense the type, location, and amount of ores, but the range wasn't too wide. He could only sense the distribution of ores within a radius of 20 miles. That was enough. Gu Shan walked a few steps closer to the wall and said, "Sir, there are a few spirit stone mines here, huh?" Lord Shui replied, and gestured to his subordinates behind him. They all drew their pickaxes and began to dig at the location Gu Shan pointed out. "How deep is it?" Lord Shui asked. 20 feet, Gu Shan replied. Seeing how confident he was, Lord Shui nodded. Very well. Time slowly passed. The gray-white rock was slowly being dug into a deep trench. Suddenly, a surge of spirit energy rushed out. One of the subordinates loudly reported from inside the trench, "Sir, there's something here. Move aside, I'll take a look." Lord Shui shouted, pushed everyone aside, and quickly walked forward to take a look. Time went silent for a second. "Ah ha ha ha!" Lord Shui laughed in a frenzy. He walked back and patted Gu Shan's shoulder. "Brother Chen Fifth, you're in luck." Gu Shan stood still, clearly a bit uneasy. He stuttered, "This lowly one only knows how to dig. Please give me some pointers, sir." Chapter 1482. The airship flew through the drifting clouds and headed north. Inside the cabin of the airship, Xuannu and Gu Qing sat across from each other. A few exquisite dishes were placed on top of the table. Xuannu had even personally poured a cup of wine for Gu Qing. Xuannu smiled. Chun Fifth, your mining skills are quite impressive. Once we return to the estate, the first thing you'll do is not use the fifth character anymore. You'll be the same as me. Given the new character by the estate's steward from now on, you'll be treated as a peer, Gu Qing asked. It's just a rough job like mining. How could I, this Chun, obtain the new character? Xuannu pointed at him and grinned. You definitely can. Why? I won't lie to you. The situation outside is basically stabilized. Then the eternal abyss. At this point, Xuannu instinctively paused, then corrected himself. All in all, the situation is looking good. The estate is in need of a talent like you. Your good days are about to come, he said. Gu Qing was surprised. It wasn't easy for me to hear something so important. How could I just let it go like this? Big brother Shui, what did you say about the eternal abyss just now? Gu Qing asked with interest. That's a matter of war. You don't need to worry about it, Xuannu replied. Gu Qing nodded, but his mind was turning a bit. He sent his voice, Zhao Xiao Sung. I'm here, Zhao Xiao Sung replied. Can you turn me and Xuannu back to before? I can't without a large-scale support formation. I can only turn back the time of a single individual, then turn Xuannu back a few breaths worth of time, Gu Qing said. Zhao Xiao Sung replied. With my abilities, I can turn him back 3 breaths worth of time, and I won't be able to use any temporal techniques for the next day. Make sure you take this chance, got it? Let's begin, Gu Qing said. Got it a second later. All of Xuannu's actions were reversed, returning to 3 breaths worth of time. It was like rewinding a movie. Xuannu acted as if he did not notice it. He looked at Gu Qing with a smile and said again, Chen Wu, your mining skills are amazing. When you return to the estate, the first thing you will do is not to use the Wu as your title anymore. You will be like me, given the new character by the estate's butler, and from now on, we will talk as peers. Gu Qing picked up the bottle and poured Xuannu a full cup, then sincerely said, If it weren't for Big Brother Shui, this Chen would have nothing. This Chun will never forget Big Brother Shui's support, seeing his attitude. Xuannu was pleased and laughed. Come, let us 2 brothers drink a toast. The 2 of them raised their cups and drained them in one gulp. Gu Qing filled her cup again and raised it. Brother Shui, I won't hide it from you, but we mining cultivators have limited knowledge. We've been working in the mines for our entire lives, so we don't know anything about the outside world. I hope Brother Shui can teach me more. I, Chen Wu, will be eternally grateful. Come, let me drink first as a sign of respect. Gu Qing drank the wine. Xuannu laughed heartily and also drank the wine in his cup. Gu Qing filled his cup again. Brother Shui, if there's anything you need from now on, just tell me. If this Chun even frowns, then I'm not a man. These 3 sentences directly express her attitude toward Xuannu, causing him to feel extremely comfortable. Xuannu voluntarily raised his cup and clinked it with Gu Qing's. Gu Qing also drank it all in one gulp. Shannu whispered in Gu Qing's thoughts, See, Gongzi, the wine is too strong. Don't drink too much. It's fine, Gu Qing replied. Luo Bingley sighed and muttered, Who would have thought that a sword cultivator like Gu Qing would actually drink and chat with a slave? Gongzi is doing this to gather information, Shannu replied. Luo Bingley scoffed. I'm not saying that your Gongzi is wrong. I just feel that as a man, his actions are a bit unfair to himself. Gu Qing abruptly cut in. There are too many unexplainable things in this world. This isn't really unfair at all. Keep an eye on your surroundings. I'm feeling a bit uneasy hearing him say that. The 4 swords regained their focus. Gu Qing put his cup down and told Xuannu, Let's drink first as a sign of respect. Seeing him drinking like that, Xuannu nodded. Very well, Brother Chun. I'll definitely protect you from now on. Don't worry. Gu Qing appeared a bit hesitant and asked, Brother Shui, it's only a rough job like mining. How could I, this Chun, be able to obtain the slave title as soon as I enter the manor? Hearing his question, Xuannu replied, You definitely can. Why? I won't hide it from you. The situation outside is basically stabilized. The eternal abyss. Forget it. You only need to know that we're about to achieve victory. At this point, Xuannu instinctively changed the topic and said, Chun Fifth, it was truly your fortune that I brought you into the manor. You should know that we're only slaves working directly for the Wraith Lord. Gu Shan smirked and asked, Brother Shui, what did you say about the eternal abyss just now? As Xuannu was about to shake his head, Gu Shan continued, Big Brother Shui, don't hide any information from this little brother. This little brother will still need to follow you from now on. If I act like a country bumpkin and don't know anything after arriving at the manor, wouldn't that be a loss of face for you? Xuannu had just downed a few cups of liquor and patted his chest in agreement, so it wasn't convenient for him to wipe his face right away. Not to mention, from now on, the other party was also considered to be on his side. Very well, I'll tell you, but you can't spread it around, Xuannu said with a stern expression. Don't worry, big brother. I only know you. I won't tell anyone else, Gu Shan replied. Xuannu then continued. The enemy of our world, the eternal abyss, is about to be destroyed. What exactly is the eternal abyss? A very powerful monster. Before it was destroyed, the three rulers of our world naturally worked together. But now that the eternal abyss has been defeated and will soon be defeated, the three rulers will begin to compete for the position of the Wraith Realm's Lord of War. Gu Shan asked, Is there only one such position? Xuannu replied, That's right. We are the slaves of Wraith Lord Fate Obstruction. All of the slaves in the manor must fight for the Wraith Lord's favor. Once the Wraith Lord becomes the master of the entire Wraith Realm, all of us would naturally rise as well. Gu Shan silently understood. I really made the right choice this time. Being able to directly enter Wraith Lord Fate Obstruction's manor means that I'll be standing at a very high point from now on, whether it's to climb up, gather information, or even get in touch with Fei Yu's group of envoys. There will be plenty of opportunities. Even Zhao Xiao Sung excitedly sent his voice. Ba, this is great. We've directly infiltrated the Wraith Lord's manor. How difficult of a task was this? Life Talisman Technique, Jade Tree Mask, all beings equal, the Fate ability, longing, as well as the ghostly teleportation, as well as the chaos in the minds. All of these factors combined to make this infiltration possible. Gu Shan maintained her calm and asked, Big Brother Shui, why was this little brother given the word slave as soon as I entered the manor? Xuannu chuckled, then pointed at Gu Shan. Weapons, treasure tools, talismans, guise hexes, which of them doesn't require precious ores? Your arrival will increase the efficiency of the manor's collection of precious ores. Although this isn't particularly crucial to the overall situation, it is still extremely important. Gu Shan nodded. This little brother understands. He once again refilled Xuannu's cup and prepared to ask a few more questions. All of a sudden, a subordinate entered the cabin and reported, Sir Shui, the new manager of the mines has been appointed. He wishes to see you. I'm currently drinking with little brother Chun. How could I possibly have the time to see him? Xuannu impatiently replied. The subordinate replied, Do you have any orders, sir? This little brother will convey them, Xuannu replied. Tell him that there's still a team leader left. I didn't manage to kill him in time. Let him kill him. Understood. Also, kill all the injured mining cultivators as a warning. I'd like to see if they still dare to cause trouble from now on. Understood. The subordinate received his order and left. Xuannu turned around and smiled at Gu Shan. Little brother Chun, come. Let us continue drinking. As soon as the two of them raised their cups, Gu Shan suddenly froze. A black thread silently manifested, one end of which was tied to his arm, while the other end flew through the cabin towards an unknown direction. This is Gu Shan sensed it and immediately sensed a certain connection from the thread. This connection was as if someone you haven't seen for a long time had suddenly appeared nearby, as if an old acquaintance had arrived. Who could it be? Gu Shan's heart became tense. This was the Wraith Realm. No matter who it was that appeared here, once they were discovered, their fate would be dire. The airship abruptly shook violently. Intense fluctuations of power could be felt from afar, followed by an intense gust of wind. Xuannu abruptly stood up and shouted, "What's going on? Report the situation immediately." A subordinate quickly appeared and quickly reported, "Sir, a spy sent by the Eternal Abyss has been discovered 500 miles ahead." "Spy? Who's fighting the enemy?" Xuannu asked. "That abyssal form is very powerful. All the wraiths nearby have gone to surround and intercept it. Sir, what should we do now?" The subordinate asked. Xuannu hesitated, then waved his hand. "Leave. I'll think about it first." Understood. The subordinate left. Gu Qingshan's eyes flickered, her mind quickly turning. An abyssal form. An abyssal form has arrived at the Wraith Realm. On the night after defeating the Soul Shrieker, I had a secret conversation with Bali, Boss, Yiru Shi, Anna, and Lady Black Sea. Regarding the spy from the Eternal Abyss, Boss seemed to have told me a few things. What'd he say? Gu Qingshan quickly recalled. That's why the Eternal Abyss had also researched a few countermeasures. Unfortunately, they weren't put to use in time, Boss explained at the time. Countermeasures? Did you prepare them? Gu Qingshan asked. We used the power of the Eternal Abyss to create a new batch of abyssal forms. These abyssal forms have all the characteristics of the wraiths, Boss replied. You're trying to infiltrate the enemy's camp? Bali asked. Boss nodded. We chose a group of the most outstanding personnel to carry these abyssal forms, then used all of our power to send them into the Wraith Realm, in order to break the Wraith Realm from within, indeed. Before the Eternal Abyss awakened, it had already sent its most outstanding personnel to the Wraith Realm. But now that I've entered the Wraith Lord's manor, I'm in a very advantageous position, so there's no need for me to take any risks and do anything else. I only need to stay hidden and look for a suitable opportunity to accomplish my own objective. Success or failure is no longer in the hands of the Eternal Abyss. It's in my hands. Gu Qingshan shook his hand, then saw the black thread again. Wait a minute. Could it be? While he was thinking, Xuannu suddenly asked, Brother Chun, do you think we should join in on the fun? Gu Qingshan hesitantly said, Big Brother Xue, those who could enter our world must be very powerful ones. Indeed, Xuannu confirmed it. Gu Qingshan tried to guess the normal reaction of a mining cultivator, then appeared fearful. Let's not join in on the fun. Let's quickly leave, Xuannu smiled. Ah, very well. Let's return to the manor. While they were talking, a cold female voice resounded across heaven and earth. You dare to stop me with just the two of you? Boom! Heaven and earth collapsed. Shockwaves spread everywhere. Gu Qingshan's body froze in place. This is Lin. So she had already arrived at the Wraith Realm at this point in time. Gu Qingshan lowered his head and fell silent. Intense shockwaves from the battle could be felt from afar, causing the entire airship to shake violently. The battle was becoming more and more intense. More and more wraiths were flying towards them from every direction. They were all heading towards the location of the battle. Encircle! Dash! Someone loudly shouted. Sensing the battle outside, Xuannu pridefully said, The encirclement is complete. That guy won't be able to escape even if he grows wings so quickly. Gu Qingshan was surprised. Xuannu shook his head. These abyssal monsters don't know that we've already noticed their movements and made ample preparations. We've already killed a few waves before. This time is no exception. Gu Qingshan was stunned. A few moments later, he slowly stood up. Brother Chun, what's the matter? Xuannu asked in confusion. Gu Qingshan's gaze flickered and fell onto Xuannu. He sighed and said, Fellow Dao Seeker Xue, I originally wanted to stay with you for a while longer, becoming a gang of scoundrels until I kill your Wraith Lord. But now, it seems I'll have to give up on that plan, fellow Dao Seeker Xue. Let me borrow your head. A cold gust of wind brushed past Xuannu's neck. Chapter 1483. The cold gleam flickered for a split second before retracting. This strike didn't contain any overwhelming sword chi, nor did it contain any overwhelming power. Instead, it appeared very normal. It was simply fast. Fast to the extreme. While Xuannu still had a confused expression on his face, His head had already been sent flying. Gu Qingshan immediately formed a hand seal. He caught the headless corpse, used a hand seal to stop the gushing blood, then caught the head and lightly placed it on the ground. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. No one outside could sense it at all. The airship continued to move forward. Gu Qingshan quickly put on the pure white Samsara Wicked mask and activated Jade Tree. In a split second, an indescribable fluctuation enveloped the crimson mask on the table. It was Xuan Nu's mask. I want this. Gu Qingshan communicated with the Samsara Wicked mask through her mind. Lines of glowing text quickly appeared in the air. Frowny face Wraith Killer mask. This mask contains the Guy's Hex technique. Death Rend. This hex must be guided by a hand seal, cut through flesh and blood on contact, turn into a force of impact on weapons. If Deep Shadow is activated, this Guy's Hex technique will be upgraded by 1 level. Would you like it? Gu Qingshan immediately replied. Activate. The lines of glowing text disappeared, replaced by a new notification. Frowny face, you've activated Deep Shadow. The Wraith Killer mask has been upgraded by 1 level. This mask contains the Guy's Hex technique. Vacuum Rend. This hex does not require a hand seal to guide. As soon as the hex is spoken, cut through flesh and blood on contact. Send flying on contact. Vacuum Rend has manifested as a Guy's Hex on your Samsara Wicked mask. The pure white mask on Gu Qingshan's face quickly turned crimson. Several black threads appeared out of nowhere on the mask to form a furious expression. It was exactly the same as Xuan Nu's mask. Shanu, Gu Qingshan, sent her voice. Gongzi, I'm here. Shanu appeared out of nowhere. Gu Qingshan took out Chen Fif's original mask and gave it to her. The situation is urgent. Turn to Chen Fifth and stay here. Yes, Shanu activated. Mystery of all beings equal. Slowly turn to Chen Fifth's appearance and put the mask on. Gu Qingshan placed her hand on Xuan Nu's corpse and also activated Mystery of all beings equal, quickly turning into Xuan Nu's appearance. He cleared his throat and loudly spoke in Xuan Nu's voice. Brother Chun, wait here. I'll go take a look at the situation. Saying so, he put Xuan Nu's head and corpse into his inventory bag. Shanu also loudly replied, Yes, big brother Xue, be careful. Gu Qingshan nodded to Shanu, took the Samsara Wicked mask in her hand, and left the cabin. Several attendants on the deck had already heard his voice. They bowed together and said, Lord Xue. Gu Qingshan clasped her hands behind her back and asked, How's the situation? A follower said, That abyssal form is indeed powerful. It has already escaped southwest and almost broke through the encirclement. More experts are rushing over now. Gu Qingshan looked into the sky. An intense presence was giving off intense fluctuations, quickly moving away. Around that presence, a large number of wraiths formed a circle and hurriedly followed. Sounds of explosions and desperate screams mixed together to resound across the ground. From the looks of it, Lin had already exposed herself. She's trying to break through the encirclement. Unfortunately, as Gu Qingshan released her inner sight to carefully observe the situation, her heart sank. The wraiths of the entire world were rushing towards her. They would surround her like a pack of hungry wolves, forcing her to fight until she couldn't handle it anymore. Gu Qingshan's mind was in a mess, but then she suddenly had a thought. Strange, why isn't she using the Fate ability? If she used Existence, she would be able to escape from the battlefield. Does Existence have some sort of activation condition? Gu Qingshan went silent briefly. He put on the mask and ordered his subordinates. I'm going to take a look at the situation. The rest of you go and help. One of the attendants hesitantly asked, Sir, aren't you going to bring a few people with you? Gu Qingshan coldly replied, With just a few of you? The attendant lowered his head and didn't dare to say anything. Gu Qingshan ordered, The rest of you are too weak, don't fight. Go to the encirclement and cheer for me. Let everyone know that our estate doesn't keep useless people. Saying so, he leapt up and took to the sky, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. Another attendant praised, Sir Xue's strength seems to have grown. Will only be a burden if we follow him. Let's just follow Sir's orders and do what we need to. The other attendants all nodded in agreement. One of the attendants entered the cabin of the airship and told Chun Fifth, "Wait here on the airship. Don't go anywhere when a fight is Sir ordered." "Ah, got it," Shanu hurriedly replied. The follower nodded and retreated. Together with the rest of the followers, they flew towards the direction of the battle. Only Shanu was left on the airship, silently waiting. Gu Shan was flying through the clouds, quickly heading towards the direction of the battle. All of a sudden, he noticed a few wraith cultivators not too far away from him, also rushing through the clouds. With a single thought, Gu Shan chased after them. He loudly called out, "Please wait a moment. I am Xuannu of Wraith Lord Fate Obstruction's estate." When the evil spirits heard him mention such a big background, they were startled. Even if he was only a servant, he was still a member of the Wraith Lord's estate. Who would dare to ignore him? They stopped, waited for Xuannu to land in the middle of them, then clasped their fists. "Greetings, Sir Shui." Gu Shan also smiled and clasped his fist. "Vacuum breaker." The incantation manifested as he spoke. The wind became blurry and enveloped the wraiths who clasped their fists to greet him. Their bodies broke apart, broke into pieces, then fell down to the ground in a mist of blood. Gu Shan had already formed a hand seal. Instantly, all the corpses and mist of blood were put away. From the moment he acted to the moment he killed them, he only needed to clasp his fist once. There was no one else around, so everything happened without anyone noticing. The masks returned to Gu Shan's hand. 3 of the masks were destroyed by Vacuum Breaker, leaving 2 usable. Each mask contained a guy's hex that was extremely powerful. If all 5 of them attacked at the same time, even the Wraith Might would have to be cautious. Unfortunately, the one they ran into was Gu Shan. Gu Shan didn't like to give others a chance to act. After checking the masks, Gu Shan randomly picked out a complete mask and used Jade Tree Figure to change his own mask to the same appearance. He then took a bit of the Mist of Blood and used Mystery of All Beings Equal to take her appearance. "No one will be able to recognize me now," Gu Shan muttered. He looked towards the direction of the battle, only to see more and more wraiths from the sky to the ground. They formed a mountain of people that surrounded a single area. Lin still couldn't escape. Intense fluctuations of battle shook the void of space, giving off thunderous noises. Gu Shan took a deep breath and unleashed all of his Huang Quan origin power. Thanks to the effects of the Samsara Wicked Mask, his Huang Quan origin power immediately manifested as Wraith origin power, turning from a dim yellow to a deep black. From afar, he looked like a demon king in the middle of darkness. Gu Shan activated Ground Shrink. His figure flashed forward several thousand miles and appeared outside the encirclement. Quite a few wraiths turned around and whispered, "This presence a wraith might has arrived. Who exactly is it? Who is it?" "No, this presence is even stronger than a wraith might. It must be someone close to the Wraith Lord." Back when Gu Shan was still facing Sumra Lord, he was already able to fight against the Wraith Might Song Wuzhan. Now that he had become a Star River Saint and obtained the Huang Quan Saint selection, his spirit energy had been converted into Huang Quan origin power. His strength had far surpassed any Wraith Might. With his current strength, he could already fight against a Wraith Lord. Gu Shan raised his presence to its peak and shouted, "All of you, get out of this king's way." He flew towards the encirclement like a shooting star. Terrifying Wraith origin power radiated from his body, drawing the attention of the Wraiths. This is a top-level combatant. Once he joins the fray, he would definitely play a crucial role. With that in mind, the Wraiths quickly made way for him. Gu Shan passed through the thousands of Wraiths and entered the encirclement, only to see a tall and slender woman fighting against several Wraiths. Lin. It really was Lin. While fighting against the numerous Wraiths, she glanced at Gu Shan. The strongest Wraith had arrived. Lin's presence rose and coldly declared, "You're courting death." Gu Shan laughed. "You think you can escape? Get out of my way. I'm going to kill her." While laughing, he sent his voice to Lin. "It's me." Lin trembled and cautiously replied, Who are you? The 3 coins and the twin swords heaven and earth, Gu Qingshan replied. Not enough. Too many people know about this. You won't be able to prove who you are. Lin quickly refuted. Her murderous aura rose. It would be fine if it really was him, but if it wasn't him, and yet he knows so much, he must be a powerful person. Gu Qingshan immediately sensed her killing intent. I can't stay here any longer. I have to take advantage of the time before the wraiths react. And Gu Qingshan's thoughts quickly turned, then helplessly sent his voice. Lin, you kissed me at the god of death's inheritance. All the origin power in his body turned into sharp sword chi, and like a sharp longsword, he charged towards Lin. The surrounding wraiths quickly made way for him. Gu Qingshan arrived in the blink of an eye. He extended his fist and punched Lin. At this point, Lin's killing intent dissipated, so she changed her fist into a palm and took half a step back. Both the 3 coins and the twin swords heaven and earth were things that the two of them experienced together. The most important thing was that kiss. Other than Anna, there was no one else. This was enough to prove their identities. Bastard! Lin felt a bit of heat on her cheeks and shouted with unclear emotions. She raised her hand and lightly grasped Gu Qingshan's fist. White fog appeared. Layers of white fog swirled like a tornado, instantly enveloping Lin within. At the very next moment, the two of them disappeared without a trace. The wraiths around them were rubbing their palms, waiting to receive Gu Qingshan's attack, but they were all stunned. The air suddenly became silent. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. Where are they? Where did they go? Someone shouted. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.